So pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, certain COVID-19 protection measures were extended as they relate to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20 of the Open Meeting Law. This meeting of the City of Westfield Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information can be found on the City of Westfield website, www.cityofwestfield.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by turning into Channel 15 or Channel 12, or online at westfieldtv.org, or online at youtube.com/Westfield Community Programming Channel. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, roll call. Jim?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Tom? All right. I see you waving. I can't hear you. All right. Thumbs up. Tom's here. Okay. All right. Item 2, any members of the public would like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none. Public meetings, RDAs. Item A is 240 Russellville Road, continued from 4/26/2022. And asking working orders. Karen, I know there have been several site visits out there.
Yep. And since the site visits that we reported last time, Anna and myself have met with the law department regarding the previous decisions from the commission. The previous enforcement order did confirm a limit of work on the restriction, which was recorded on the deed, which is kind of a line in the sand where they cannot go outside that limit of work. So they are held to that previous restriction as far as where they can site their septic.
Mhm.
I believe there are options to do some other types of technologies inside that line, but we need to kind of punt the ball back in their court and say, rethink their proposal.
Mhm. Okay, questions or comments from the commission?
Karen, I have a question, please. Regarding the distance from the wellhead, will that still be met?
So that would be up to the health department. Talking with Tim Hubert, it's basically up to them to decide. Essentially, they'd have to do a tight tank, and it can be within that building envelope, and it can be just outside the 50 foot of the well with the special permission from the health department. So that is not our concern there.
Okay. All right. So we are being held to the last edit of the plan that's on file with the Registry of Deeds now?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
It's very clear and plain in the Registry of Deeds when the property was sold to Angel, not Oscar, that they are held responsible to those restrictions.
Okay. Thank you.
So to be clear, that's something their closing attorney should have made them aware of.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which it begs the question, was Angel made aware of it and then just didn't inform Oscar because Oscar is not the property owner, unfortunately?
Mhm.
So what is the next legal procedural step that we take? How do we get this back to the health department, or how do we reject this? What's the proper process?
So if I may, you have a current RDA where you have been requested to approve work under the state regulations and work under the ordinance. Clearly, there's a conflict. So you have to let the applicant know about that conflict and give them an opportunity to resolve that.
Okay,
As Anna said, there's options. So they just can redesign and come back.
so we can keep this open. Is that what you're, okay? So we can, all right, okay.
Would you like me to read the email from the law department, which states basically what we have to address? So we talked to Megan Bristol, and there's a whole bunch of stuff regarding our meeting. And it says, just to reiterate the issue at hand, the plan before the commission, which is the only thing before the commission to decide on, violates the restriction and to allow for the installation of the septic in the location the applicant has proposed or anywhere outside the limit of work that has been established in those restrictions would be a knowing violation of the restrictions pursuant to the enforcement order. And it says that it is not on the commission to decide whereupon essentially that this current plan that they have proposed is not viable to us.
We now know that there have been violations in a resource area. I'm talking about the land that has been disturbed by presumably by the guy who was doing the drilling for holes or digging for holes. Should we issue an enforcement order? Should we issue something at this point to say, hey, you've got to, I'm sorry for more bad news, but you've got to fix the resource area. You restore it, stop cutting it, all those good things. Should we do
You
that?
could either do that, or if they come back to us with a plan for the tight tank inside the permanent limit of work, you could just make that part of your order of conditions that they restore that part of the property. Because there's really no sense in making that an enforcement if they're just going to go back onto the property and cause all of that restoration to go away again when they're putting in the new septic system, if they so choose to move forward.
But they won't, they'll be working with outside of our protected area, right, Hannah? I mean,
The area is still protected. It's just within the bounds of the limit of work is what it has to be. So like the RDA and everything still has to go through us. We still have to approve it, but it has to be within that permanent building envelope. But you wouldn't necessarily be able to fit like an excavator within that permanent building envelope, if you know what I mean. So it's like the excavator would be outside of that permanent building envelope.
Thank you. I do understand what you're saying.
So I'd like to add a little bit more to what I think Tom was getting at also, which is stabilization. And I was last out there a number of weeks ago, and I don't recall hay bales, but there might have been a silt fence in the back.
The silt fence has completely fallen down.
Okay, so at a minimum, I think until this gets resolved, on the assumption there might be a continuation tonight, there's got to be some erosion control put up and some process of stabilization.
So this particular application, I guess there's there's different options. We can just refuse it and have them start again, or we can continue it and have them present a new plan that's within the limit of work. Trying to put conditions on an RDA is often more difficult than doing that on an NOI or an order of conditions from an NOI. So we might think about putting it as a separate enforcement if that gives us more more authority on fixing that area that has been disturbed. So is there a sentiment to continue this, or just refuse this and tell them to start all over again?
Mr. Chair, I guess My idea would be to continue it, to have the coordinator reach out, figure out if they are going to come back. I think the septic issue itself is probably still an RDA and they've paid their filing fee presumably. So I'd hate just to kick it out, just to make them pay another fee to come back. I think the fact that the limit of work is deed restricted means, yes, we can reference it, but we don't really need to put it in writing anymore. It's already on the deed. And then, if there's a concern about erosion on the site, your recommendation to handle that separately might be appropriate. So I would say keep it, at least continue it another 2 weeks, allow the coordinators to figure out what their plan of action is going to be. And if they intend to come back, we can just kind of continue it until they contact us so they don't have to forfeit their application fee.
So they'll be aware they have to do everything inside that limit of work. Okay.
But that doesn't, but what about a stabilizing the area now where we've got existing erosion?
That would be separate, as the chair was
That would
kind
be
of
a
saying.
separate enforcement order.
So we would do a continuation of the RDA, close that per se, and do a separate enforcement tonight. Is
Yeah,
that the path, Mr. Chairman?
yes, I think that's a way of keeping the two items separate from them. Because
I
now we have,
Also agree on both issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems
unfortunately,
the simplest way.
okay. So there seems to be a consensus of continuing the RDA and corresponding with the applicant that their previous plan is unacceptable because of the deed restriction. And they need to change that. And then send out a separate enforcement on the disturbance that has occurred in the area outside of limit of work.
I'll make a motion that we continue this matter until our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'll second that with the addition that we request that the coordinators reach out to the applicant to explain what needs to be done in order to bring this back before us.
Mhm.
I'll accept that amendment.
Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Do we have a motion on an enforcement order?
I'll make a motion that we issue an enforcement order asking for a hay bales and a silt fence be around the disturbed area on the property.
Okay. Would you want to include a plan, a restoration plan with a consultant at this stage or wait till later stage?
My thought was that might go with the once the RDA is returned, that could become part of that, but I'm
You
open to
should cross
suggestions.
those. Keep those separate.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was kind of with Carl, I guess, thinking like if they put the tank in that they would clean up the property as well, because they've been doing work there, but because of the point that if we say, okay, come in with a restoration plan, do all this seeding now beyond stabilization, it needs to be stabilized, but beyond stabilization, that it might just get disturbed when they come in to do an installation of a septic tight tank, if that's what they choose. So I'd be okay just saying, let's get it hay baled, and maybe we revisit even the enforcement in 2 weeks when we hear what their intentions are. If they intend to stop, then obviously we're going to ask them to kind of restore everything. So maybe we just know better in a couple of weeks. And for now, we just get stabilization in place.
So what are you saying, Alex? Just tighten the site up a little bit?
Tighten it up now. And I guess
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, we'll decide if we need a plan or not in addition,
Okay.
kind of depending on where they're going with this whole thing.
I'm good with that.
How's that to the rest of the commission, Bob?
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Just tighten it up, get it so it's stable and and then again, there's going to be equipment and things are going to happen. So,
And make it's part of the enforcement order. Some language would have to say, stay off of it don't cut it anymore.
Mhm.
And I don't know how we get around you're right. When they start digging a hole there, he's probably going to need to park his equipment or, break it there. I don't know quite how to handle that, but I do think we need to stress again, even though it's in the deed, to stay off.
All right, so do we have a second for Carl's motion?
If I can just add a few,
Sure, go ahead.
few things. So you want an enforcement order for site stabilization. So specifically, you want erosion controls that circumvent that limit of work that's on the restriction, and you want topsoil and seeding. I think you have to be a little more specific on what you're looking for. Erosion controls is fine temporarily, like you've been saying. We don't really know what they want to do in the future. Then you can kind of amend the enforcement order down the line and say, okay, we want plantings. So for now, you just want cease and desist, erosion controls.
I think that's the consensus of the
That was
commission.
my thought at the moment,
Yes.
and then, see what they come back with in terms of
Gotcha.
what the plan is long-term or more
Okay.
long-term.
Thank you.
But
Tighten it up.
Okay,
And can I also ask that hay bales be changed to straw bales?
mhm, okay.
Well, how about wattles too?
And or
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so who's going to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Jim,
Yep.
Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
yes,
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, item B, 291 East Main Street, Friendlies. Again, continued from 4/26/2022. Okay. You note say we're still waiting for some information. Is that correct? Or do we
That's
have enough
correct.
information?
No, now we have enough information. Hi, everybody. Good evening. The commission had requested a pre and post survey of the parking lot, which I had civil engineer do. Submitted that to Anna this morning. The commission also asked for a flood emergency evacuation report that I submitted as well this morning to Anna.
Okay.
I received them as well.
Mike, who did the first report go to? Someone in the city? Is that what you said?
Oh, Anna.
Anna has both reports he spoke
That's
of?
correct. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
You're trying to share those now?
Yes. I just have to find Zoom. So this is their emergency evacuation plan. So basically the steps for everything that they so choose to do, some notification of the Westfield Emergency Management Department. Storm manager will implement a phone tree of workers who will be required to report to the site within 45 minutes. We directed to undertake their plan. And then each employee has a specific set of tasks. So essentially removing the Jersey barriers or whatever type of fencing that was agreed upon. I can't recall.
The only
And
thing we're
essentially
doing,
storing it.
the only thing we have would be any outdoor furniture and removable bollards. The bollards in the
The
suite.
ballards.
Yeah.
So essentially the commission requested how will they store this stuff that would get washed away in the sense of a flood. And this is the plan that provides how and what will be removed from the property.
That's correct.
Is there more to the plan? Is there a 5 or a 6?
That is it. There's a part 4, which is removal of all areas, and then communications. So who they will be reaching out to.
Mike, did you say the fence is no longer an issue? You're no longer thinking of fencing?
No, no, that, just, it's too difficult of a process to remove all that. Not gonna ask my staff to do that.
Right.
A handful of bollards is a lot easier.
I agree.
Mike, I just looked at your list and Mr. Crissati is no longer the city engineer. He retired.
Really?
So
Okay.
you need to find a new contact in the engineering office.
Okay. Yeah, even the even the website's wrong then too. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, he just retired in the very recent past.
right.
That's not fair.
You tell that to him.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, any questions from the commission concerning this item? Seems to have
No.
answered the questions that we had the previous meeting.
It seems like you've addressed everything, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
That's the first document. Is second as complete?
The other one,
That should be the site survey from the civil.
the patio or existing conditions?
Yes.
So these are the existing conditions for the property.
That's correct.
Oh, this might be the old one. I may have mislabeled them. Nope. Oh yeah, so existing conditions was this one where you can see the elevation, the contours, edge of pavement and the lawn. So there's already the concrete pad here. And in this area is where they're gonna want to put the patio.
Yep.
Which if I can rotate this without all these bars in my way. Keep going. One more. Okay. So this is the location of the patio down here.
Correct.
Looks like exactly what we asked for.
10 removable ballards, 5 tables, 20 chairs,
okay.
no fencing,
No offense.
and a plan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the commission? Any comments from the audience concerning this particular project? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Jim,
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, do we have a motion on the recommendation?
I'd like to make a motion that we go with a -3 with conditions. 1, no materials generated from the project may remain on site. And post-construction, there should be no increases in any elevation within the bordering lands subject to flooding. I also recommend a +5 with the ordinance with no NOI required.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Jim,
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right,
Yep. Thanks,
congratulations.
Mike.
All right, we'll be in contact.
Thank you,
All
Mike.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Can I,
Item C, 1515 Granville Road, Springfield Water and Sewer Commission. Removal of trees. Again, continued from 4/26/2022. Again, there was a site visit out there. We have a report from the site visit.
Mr. Chair, I recused myself last time and recused myself again from this item.
All right, thank you. Okay. Anyone who was on the site visit?
Who was on the site visit, Anna?
I guess
Lauren,
I can,
Carl, myself, Karen.
I guess I can speak up on that. There were indeed some trees that definitely needed to be removed because they were looking rather dead, and there were several that posed a relatively relevant hazard. There were perhaps some issues where we could encourage some plantings to replace those that were removed. In particular, I think some shrubs might help to stabilize banks and would be less likely to become future hazards than trees potentially would. So generally, I did agree with the need to remove those trees.
Anyone else from the site visit?
I would just add that there were a few trees that also had invasive species growing up on them, so Oriental bittersweet. And so something like that might need to be addressed as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Melissa, Cody, are you representing the applicant?
It's Nicole.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I work for the,
Okay.
yeah, I'm Nicole Sanford. I work for Springfield Water and Sewer Commission.
Okay.
I'm not a consultant.
Okay. Do you have anything to add from the site visit?
No, it was a lovely site visit.
Okay.
It looks like Melissa is online, David.
I know. That's why. Okay.
Mhm.
Karen,
Maybe she-
anything? Okay. Did the trees that were marked, were they appropriate to be removed?
I think all but one, and I think we agreed there was a maple by the bridge that wasn't really necessarily a dangerous tree, and we all agreed that could be avoided. But I think I just confirmed what Carl had said, that we could ask for some mitigation, but something that's less invasive on their part, shrubs or something.
Sure.
Karen, how many trees are we talking about that are going to be removed? How many?
I don't know, a couple dozen? What would you say, Nicole?
29.
29, yeah.
Will our tree replacement policy go into effect with this? Will this be one of our first cases? What do we have, like a 3-for-1 replacement? 2-for-1, I forget. Anybody talk about that?
We have not.
I would
I didn't know that was
encourage,
a thing.
yeah, I would encourage that we allow them to use shrubs in place, because I think the trees will simply, over a number of years, develop into additional hazards that will need to be removed. So I think shrubs would be more appropriate in this case.
The purpose of the trees is to provide shade. Am I right there? Will we be able to shade with shrubs?
Sure, I think so.
So,
Yeah.
so the shrubs will be planted right on the resource boundary, or how will that work?
Yeah, if the shrubs are planted relatively close to the sites where the trees are being removed, they'll accomplish a similar role in terms of shading the stream. And in a couple of the places, it's actually relatively dense, so that I think missing a tree, particularly if it's already dead, won't really impact the amount of shading that's present.
So Carl, do you think we need a plan, a planting type plan, or do you think we just need to say replace with 24 shrubs, or whatever magic number we decide, or whatever our new policy says, our new ordinance?
Yeah, I think we can leave it that they can remove the trees, and if they agree to however many shrubs that we mandate. So I don't think that we necessarily need to have a plan showing the exact locations.
I do know that this organization, that the commission has been excellent to work with. You guys have been great in the past. I'm sure we could, in spite of some earlier comments I might have made, I think we could probably go ahead with a less formal agreement.
Mhm.
But I'm surprised Melissa isn't piped in. Melissa,
Nicole is representing this application. This is not an application that Ty and Bond prepared.
Okay,
and yet
thank
I'm
you.
seeing on my screen, I'm seeing Melissa's name.
She's here for
Has no one
something.
else seen Melissa?
Yeah. She's not involved with this project, Tom.
Don't pull her in.
Yeah.
Oh, who from Ty and Bond is representing you tonight?
The Springfield Water and Sewer Commission? No, we just prepared the RDA ourselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Mhm.
Oh, well, excuse my confusion. In the past, you've worked very closely with Ty and Bond.
We do, and we still do. Hi, Melissa. But not on this project, no.
I understand.
All right, any other comments from the commission? Any comments of the audience concerning this particular project? All right, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
You have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Jim,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Okay, do we have a motion on the application and the recommendation?
I guess the one thing that we need to iron out is how many trees / shrubs we are going to ask them to replace the removed trees with.
David, what's the new ordinance say? You work closely with it. Is it a 3-for-1?
I didn't work on the tree one.
Oh. Yeah.
I think it's more shrubs because we backed off on trees. You know what I mean? Because we gave them the option of trees versus shrubs. So, again, Tom, I think it's more shrubs.
Okay, shrubs. How many shrubs, Bob?
I didn't see the site. I really don't know. I understand what Carl's saying.
Can we word it loosey goosey then? Can we say?
Yeah, I would think, more is better. If let them give us a proposal of we're willing to do 10 or 15 versus, I don't know. I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, maybe word it something to the effect that the applicant will plant enough shrubbery to provide adequate shading to the resource area. Something like.
And I'm sure the commission and the Water and Sewer Commission has been very good from what I've heard from every meeting. So I'm sure they're going to go above and beyond. Do we have to say you got to do 3? They may say, hey, we're going to do 5, or we're going to do 10 for every tree. Even though we have our policy, as long as they meet our policy, I'm comfortable.
So tonight, perhaps we could say a reasonable number of shrubs shall be planted.
Yeah, and then
I would be specific. Reasonable is very.
Yeah, we need an actual number, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
you guys are okay.
Well,
All right.
and how many? There's 29 trees coming out.
Correct.
There's 29 trees. A lot of them are dead trees that are in the middle of like some more densely packed tree stands. I would say, to me, looking at the site, the most pertinent ones are the ones that were close to the stream that runs through the site, or the brook. Those ones coming out are on a slope, so you might want to insist more on planting some of the shrubs around that area to provide some stabilization after removal of the trees.
What's the caliper of the trees?
That's a good question. I don't have that, but I mean, I would say they'd probably range in like 15 to 20 inches DBH. So they're not, the trees, maybe they could be a little bit larger too. But by Cook's Brook, where she's talking about, there are some birch trees.
So
in that
There was a
open area.
particular dead one that probably was about 24 inches DBH, but
Right,
again,
that-
it was dead. So
Yeah.
so it was mostly just maybe about a 40-foot trunk.
Can I share my screen?
yes. But it seems like perhaps some of the trees, the dead ones are within a bunch of trees, so they really don't have to be replaced where they are.
So for instance, most of these trees here are dead or dying. There was actually a whole lot of sticks on the ground and branches that had already fallen. And that's a downward slope into a brook. And then, but like then you have these ones over in this area, which provide shade, but aren't necessarily serving any other purpose other than that, which would be provided the shaded area.
And was that the resource right there? Were we looking at the,
Yes.
in the photo? So it is right on the border. It is right on the,
Mhm.
so, Lauren, Carl, help me out. You guys saw it. Are 24 shrubs gonna make any difference, or do we need 50 shrubs? Or do we need none? If it's a shaded area, as the chair is suggesting, maybe, we're not trying to be punitive. We're trying to be restorative. Can either of you help me there?
My thought was that actually, if we insist on something like 3-to-1, that we're going to crowd it too densely and they're going to sort of shade each other out and kill each other. And so that a sparser planting actually will be, I think, healthier. And there were a couple of trees down in that, in Anna's photo too, that were in a rather dense cluster. So I think actually that kind of thinning that out might be
This one over
better.
here.
Let's see. Yeah,
This-
right in that.
This was the
area.
first site with I can't remember the name of the building, Nicole, but
The tap house.
the tap house. Very
Yeah.
very important building. But these trees to be removed here are again dead or dying, and they're in a huge cluster of trees. So like Carl said, some thinning might be useful. Would allow actually more shrub growth in the area.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with Carl. And even say they planted shrubs in that area, it's already going to be pretty shaded by what's left.
Yeah.
So it might even be difficult to grow. They'd have to be pretty specific about what species they chose that could grow already in a shaded area that can be wet.
Yeah, we don't even know what the proposal of the shrubs are gonna be in there, correct? We don't know what they're gonna put in there if it's a shaded area.
So do we want to throw it back at them, have them come up with a very simple plan, a planting plan?
I would be happy with that, Tom.
Do we feel this is time sensitive? I mean, the trees, they could blow over tonight, but that's probably not likely.
The only other thing I would add too is that there are utilities that run underneath where the trees are being removed. So adding in, say, like if we're thinking like 3-to-1 shrubs, those roots could impact the utilities in the area.
Yeah. Is it
That's
okay
a really
if I
good
speak?
point.
Is it underground utilities or above ground utilities, Lauren?
Underground.
Okay.
So we're thinking more like 1-to-1 instead of 3-to-1?
I think that would be more reasonable. Yeah,
Are there other
given
places
this
along,
situation.
are there other places along the brook where a shrub might be appropriate to place if it's one of the replacement shrubs, instead of just putting them back where the trees came out?
Mhm.
Nicole, did you have something to add? I heard you speak up a moment there.
Thank you, Hannah. No, I was just going to follow up on what Lauren's saying, and really that the purpose again in terms of the removal of these dead and dying trees is the how close they are to critical infrastructure. You know, we talked about the tap house in the field, but you can see these lines on the map too. So, you know, is it an imminent emergency? No, this is preventative. These trees are dying, but if they do fall down, they could impact underground utilities. And that's the concern. So that's the purpose. And any future plantings, I mean, we can definitely do plantings, but you know, we will need to take into account where the underground utilities are before we, you know, put, you know.
If I may, did we close the meeting?
Yes.
So any discussion with anyone outside the commission is not appropriate. So we need to keep discussion just between the commission at this point.
All right, thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't go on the site visit, but just listening in, can we just, I think, ask the applicant to come back? I think Bob is somebody else has suggested with some kind of a plan that looks at a variable canopy to replace these, but, you know, low bushes, maybe considering obviously all native species, maybe some blueberry bushes, you know, are always good and they'll, you know, enhance wildlife. And obviously they have to consider root structure. And, you know, and I'm just going to throw a number at a minimum of 30 and a maximum of 50 so they can come up and work it out based upon what the growth would be and maximum height. That way we can kind of move forward on this and they can move. And I guess the removal is somewhat separate from the restoration, as long as it's done somewhat in a timely manner. But anyway, that's my thought, just kind of listening in. I didn't make the site visit.
The plan that we're asking for could also, if they're willing to take a stab at it, indicate efforts toward controlling the invasive bittersweet that Lauren mentioned.
Sure.
So maybe it could have a dual purpose.
I'm comfortable with what you guys both said, Tom and Jim. I think we need to just give it to them, have them show us what their proposal is. We know what we want, and we take it from there, and then we can say yeah or no or whatever. But we're just
Right.
we're vague right now. We're just saying shrubs, and you know, we're trying to use our new policy, which is good. There's, you know, we have to stick by that, but we also need to sell them to show us what your proposal is.
Right. And can we ask Anna to send them our new tree policy, the ordinance?
There's a concern here. We've closed the meeting,
Oh, okay.
so we can't continue it.
Ah,
So
Can I make a
anything-
suggestion?
So it has to be a condition.
okay.
Right, I think this is, you can condition this, so a -3 with, you just ask the applicant to submit a plan showing you've talked 30 to 50 wetland species. They're going to cite them, given their structures and their
Yeah.
limitations, and maybe include an invasive species management piece to it for approval by the commission prior to any work starting. You
Right.
receive the plan, you approve it, they're good to go.
Yeah. And you folks, we're going to be agreeing to the removal. So that's a significant part of this. And I would just like to add that we have a variable canopy and variable vegetation. We don't want to have every bush be the same one.
Mr. Chairman, if you're ready, I'll sponsor the motion Karen just made, and then just add that we'll also issue a +5 for the local ordinance. If you're ready.
I don't think she mentioned -3 with work, but
Yeah,
go ahead,
actually,
Tom. What?
she did.
Nope.
Actually,
It's
she
on the
did.
agenda. It's
You
on the
did?
agenda, but
Okay.
yeah, just
All right. Does that, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor, Carl,
Yes.
Bob, Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah.
okay, Lauren,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right. So they'll come back with a plan and we can take a look at that and go ahead. But by doing this, we're giving them permission to start cutting.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Carl has a chainsaw if you need help.
Yeah, but it doesn't start, he told me.
He's also got an axe.
Yeah, and a bad shoulder.
Who's taking notes this evening? Anyone? Did Tom include a +5 for the ordinance
Yes.
with NOI? No NOI?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay. All right, item D, 57 Jesse Lane, replacement of septic system. So in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, a public meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, May 10, 2022 by virtual meeting regarding request for determination of applicability submitted by Catherine and James Pelletier to determine whether the work is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, whether the area and/or work is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinance at 57 Jesse Lane in Westfield, and asking work and ordinance. Okay. Okay, so there was a site visit out here, Karen and Anna.
Yeah, I took a look at the site. It's in the septic system's in the front of the property, which is relatively flat. It doesn't start a downward slope towards the wetland stream until the back end of the property. So it's relatively flat. They're open to erosion control prior to construction with approval from the coordinator. Seems
Yep. Do you have a plan
pretty
for us, Ann?
straightforward. Yes, there's a proposed plan as well that I can share. Too many tabs. So Ashley Brook is down on this side. The septic system is up here at an elevation of 100, and then you can see the downward slope from there on.
Well, that's a name from the past, D.L. Bean.
Yeah, look at that.
We were just talking about him the other day.
All right, so it falls just within the 200 feet, like 199
Yes,
or what?
literally like this corner right here falls right within the 200 feet.
Okay.
So to be on the safe side, I said file an RDA with us just to make sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right.
But I truly don't see a problem with it.
And does the Board of Health send you a copy of their approved paperwork?
I have to sign off on it when it falls in a wetland. So it goes to the Board of Health for stamped approval and signature, and then it comes up to me for signature as well.
Thank you.
Anna, is this the reserve field they're going to be working in, or another field that they selected by new perk test?
I believe it is where the existing system is currently, and they're taking it out and replacing it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're replacing the tank, Anna, or the whole leach field?
Leach Field, I want to say. I'm getting my septic systems mixed up in my head because there's like 3 of them ongoing. Wrong thing.
What does the RDA say, Anna?
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up right now.
Sometimes that'll be more specific, yeah.
I can't open it because there's a problem with the contents and it is unreadable and I can't recover it. Let's.
Perfect.
I got it. It's fine. Replacement of existing septic leach field. Work completed with an existing front yard lawn.
Okay.
Okay. So this is going to be less invasive than removing and replacing or upgrading the tank. Okay.
And did it need, or did someone say it's like 200 feet away from the resource area?
It's just on the, like, just encroaching into the 200 feet. It's like at 196 feet from the
Right.
riverbank.
Okay. But this is so they're going to rehab the existing field,
Yes.
which we've already permitted, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
I don't know who's saying yes, but
Okay.
it would have been permitted from a long time ago.
Okay. All right.
Seems pretty
And
straightforward.
There was confusion on this as well, and same with another address, because under the ordinance for replacement or repairs of a septic system, they do not have to file, but under the Wetlands Protection Act, they are required to file.
All right, any other comments from the commission concerning this particular project? Seems like it's acceptable as written.
One comment, we just need to throw up a line of erosion controls because it's not on the plan.
Okay. All right, you have that as one of our negative conditions, or conditions under -3.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it, yeah, have them throw it up in the field and have it approved by Anna or put it on the plan, either way.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
whatever you want.
All righty.
So I'll make a motion then that we have,
Wait, Carl,
or
wait,
not ready yet? Okay.
just wait. Are any comments from the audience concerning this particular project?
Yes, this is Jim Pelletier.
Yes, welcome.
I just talked to the engineer tonight who actually did the plans. He did say there was hay bales on the plan for protection. And we are just replacing the septic system in the exact location that has always been there. The leach field.
Yeah, it says on the plan soil/sedimentation barrier.
But which line is it?
I do not know which line it is.
It's not clear. Yeah.
Likely the line with the circle in the middle, that's typical fence line type. And it goes from the corner of the house up to the edge of the road, which would make some sense.
Yeah.
Effectively, the house would be the other part of the erosion control barrier in this case.
I think as long as it's approved prior to work, it's fine.
Okay. Oh, I can see it now.
Oh, yeah, soil sedimentation barrier. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pelletier.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions in the audience or the commission concerning this particular project? All right, seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
How about yes?
Carl,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Bob,
Hey, Tom or Bob?
Bob,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So we have a motion on the recommendation.
All right, how about I'll jump in now?
Okay, Carl.
I'll get a -3 for the work with the conditions that first, prior to any work, the applicant shall install silt fence and straw bales, and that they be approved by the coordinator prior to any work. Post-construction, all disturbed soil shall be stabilized with at least 75% growth prior to the removal of those erosion controls. And then +5 for the ordinance with no NOI required.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Bob,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay. Item 4, public hearings. 149 Neck Road, installation of new administrative building. Again, continue from 4/26/2022. And there was a site visit on 4/20/22. Okay. Seems like there's a note, we're waiting still more information on the comp storage and mitigation options.
Yes, I received the, here it is, the comp storage. It is the document that you saw when we were on the site visit, David, which showed
Yep.
the elevations and the storage required. That's the document which I received.
Okay. Do we have a document on the mitigation options?
From what I can see, no, that was
Not
not
yet.
sent to me.
This is Art Allen from Ecotech, project representative.
Welcome.
How you doing? Anna, I emailed that all to you on May 5th. I thought you acknowledged receipt of that.
Is it in the same document as?
Yeah,
the
the
one?
plan
Okay,
is
still the same.
the plan is part of the engineer's memorandum. I can put up the plan if you like.
Basin.
All right, why don't you go ahead? Art?
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up, Art.
Yeah, go ahead and show it.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, Art Allen from Ecotech, project representative, and Lauren and Alicia from Woodard and Curran, I believe, are on the call tonight too. But we were all present on the site walk at April 20th. It was held after the first public hearing. This plan by Woodard and Curran shows, you can see the access drive along in here showing through the trees. And then there's an existing barway and an open gravel area that we walked into where they're proposing this compensatory storage basin to be created in that open gravel area. It does not require any tree removal or significant disturbance. And we're planning to excavate the basin, remove the material and dispose of it outside of the flood zone and outside of resource areas and buffers. It'll be finish graded with a loamy topsoil and planted with the native species that are specified on the plan, saplings and shrubs. I also had them include a note, which we discussed during the sidewalk, about invasive species removal. We noted the presence of Asiatic bittersweet vines, multiflora rose bushes, and Tartarian honeysuckle, and that we're proposing to do cut and treat removal of those invasive species within 50 feet of the project work limits, which includes the new administration building and the storage basin work. Although there isn't much vegetation around the basin, it's primarily we noted the species around the proposed administration building. So they provided the cut and fill compensatory storage details in a table on this plan. And I believe that was all the additional information provided since the last hearing. I know, again, Lauren and Alicia, I believe, are on the call if there's any further discussion or questions with the engineers, but I think we've addressed all the commission's comments at this point. I'll just I'll put up I will also put up the elevation plan just so you can see the building again. I believe we discussed this at the last hearing, but it shows the building elevated on piers. The piers and the elevator shaft area have all been included in the cut and fill for compensatory storage. as you can see, the building's foundation is just at the 100-year flood elevation, bordering land subject to flooding. And then the structure itself is 3 feet above the 100-year flood. And I believe that that brings us up to date. We'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Just one correction, and Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong. We designed the vestibule for the elevator to take on water. So there's basically louvers, and we have a drawing of that detail.
Sorry, I can put that up.
Okay, yeah, so the compensatory storage actually does not include the vestibule.
Because it's designed to flood, right?
Correct, yep.
So a question here, this is Jim. So just out of curiosity, so your mechanicals for the elevator will be obviously raised above this?
That's correct, yep. And the home position for the elevator will be at the finished floor elevation.
Okay.
And Art or somebody, where is the comp storage coming from? Somewhere else on site?
Yes, it's just up the access road, about 100 feet away from the new building and the existing treatment plant.
And how did you calculate? I know you took into effect, and thank you for taking into effect the pilings or, the structure that your new building is going to sit on. But is it expressed in like square feet or cubic feet? How do you do that, Art?
Cubic feet. No, and I'll defer to probably, I think Alicia or Lauren, whichever one would like to discuss the calcs. Thank you.
I'm just curious what that number is. Is it 50, 100 cubic feet?
Yeah, so we utilize cubic feet to calculate the volume per vertical linear foot. And you can see in the compensatory storage table on the plan as well as in the memo. So the total compensation required is 1,800 cubic feet, which includes all of the piles as well as the walls of the elevator shaft and vestibule up to elevation 133. So that's the required storage. And then the proposed storage that will be provided is 3,175 cubic feet. So it's about 1.5 times the required. It was discussed during our site walk that we had taken a look utilizing the Westfield GIS to see if there were any locations up at elevation 133 to provide compensatory storage. However, the only elevations within city land in the area were within the forested area. So we were in the memo, you'll see that we just request that the commission consider to allow us to put the basin within the already cleared area, so we don't have to cut trees down.
I see. Thank you. And thank you for reading off those numbers. They're so tiny on my screen that even when I put nose on the screen, I can't quite make them out. Hey, Carl, is this the site you went to where you had concerns about snow removal?
It was a site I went to with Jim. I don't recall having a snow removal issue for this one particularly, or specifically.
Yeah, I echo that. I don't recall that.
All right, I'm thinking of something different. This is a wastewater pump station. Is that what this is?
This is the treatment plant.
Treatment plant, administrative building.
Right, associated with, right now the building is inside the plant and evidently it's subject to poor air quality and fumes, and I guess it's a real health and safety issue, and they need to build this new building to get the administrative and lab facilities outside of the actual treatment facility, is my understanding. I don't know if.
Yeah, I'd heard that also, and that's an admirable goal. I'm glad that we are providing a better workplace for our employees. Who, Anna or Karen, who checks the numbers for the city, do we send this comp storage data to somebody in engineering typically? Or how does that work?
We have in the past. I don't know that there's anybody right now to
Can
review.
yeah, with Mark on, I think Jeremy, I think, do it?
Or Matt. Yep.
Yeah, Matt, okay.
Matt Cameli. Yeah.
Just based on the conversation, I get a real warm, comfortable feeling from the applicants that have addressed us. I'm not saying that it's necessary on this project, maybe it is, maybe you guys will want it, but in the future, I think that's something good to remember, Anna, is to bounce it along or ask the applicant to bounce it along.
Yeah, I got just a question.
Go ahead.
I just want to confirm the stormwater design that was over at the building, that's still intact, right? Just because this is labeled stormwater basin, but I assume there's still stormwater basin over at the new administration building to handle that runoff as was described last time.
Yeah, I'll go back to the site plan, and the site plan still maintains the infiltration basin with all of the parking lot and impervious runoff directed to that basin on site.
I just want to confirm the one we were just looking at, even though it says stormwater / infiltration, that there's no stormwater function up there. It's just it's a carved out space for comp storage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right. Flood storage or stormwater storage, they call it the same thing, but yeah.
Well,
it's designed
specifically in the
regs.
Specifically in the regs, a stormwater facility cannot double as comp storage. That's why I'm asking the question. So they're both provided here separately. So I just wanted to make sure they're still separate functions.
Correct.
For Arthur, Art, this is Jim. I have a question on the table that you had up just before Alex's question. Did you have exit on the right side of the matrix? You have a total of provided store required versus provided, and of the 3175. Is that excess? So if I subtract the 18 from the 3175, is that extra that you have for future design? Or how am I reading this?
Well, I think she's just providing bonus. She's providing bonus storage, additional storage over and beyond what's required.
Will you be using that for another project, that bonus storage?
I don't believe so. Alicia?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, does the commission want this sent to engineering, or do we want to accept it as written?
It's not uncommon historically for us to send projects like this to engineering for a quick review of the calcs. I mean, it's very, very common. Mark's just not here. I don't know who else would do it. Yeah, there's got to be somebody in the city that
Well, Jeremy's not here either, so.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Alex, are you okay with what you're reading?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of an assumption here that the earthwork calculation is correct, but you know, I don't believe there's any intent to deceive there on the plan. I think that they're providing almost twice as much volume as they're displacing. You know, we're missing out on the higher elevations, but this is a flat area out here, and that's partially probably why they're providing the excess capacity. I'm generally comfortable with what they've presented to us.
Yeah, thank you. And they've, I believe, addressed anything we brought up.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments from the commission?
I have two comments.
Yes, Karen.
One, as Alex had said, the reference to the stormwater infiltration basin for the comp storage area, that should be definitively noted as comp storage and not a basin. in order to be accepted, because those two are not the same. And the second would be they're offering to do invasive species management within 50 feet of the project work limits. I'm not sure how much mitigation we get out of that, and I certainly don't want to penalize the city for doing the project. I'm just seeing what I'm seeing. And when we were out on site, we saw a lot of very big trees that had a lot of vines that are going to take those trees down in the next few years. We might get more bang for our buck to say, just get out there with some clippers and get those vines off the trees. Just a suggestion.
So do we need a management plan?
I provided one in the notes on the new plan.
But it only addresses within 50 feet, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to expand that in a condition, that's up to you. I mean, I'm anticipating that the maintenance folks at the plant will be doing this work as they can over the course of the permit life, so.
You want to extend that to 100 feet, Karen?
I know, it's more of a tree size. A lot of those big trees are down, and it's just something I noticed. So over the whole site, I mean, if you want to hold them to 100 feet, yeah, I mean, you're going to get something out of it, but I don't know how much.
Yeah, but you got it pushed back, right, Karen? If you go to 100?
Yeah.
Versus 50?
Yeah. You got something. I mean, the whole property is within your jurisdiction, it's floodplain, so.
Lauren might know better, but I've always been under the assumption that bittersweet, you need to do more than just take clippers to it. You've really got to poison it. You've got to put some kind of herbicide on it.
That's why, let me read you the protocol. Existing non-native invasive species, Asiatic bittersweet vines, multiflora rose bushes, Tartarian honeysuckle bushes, located within 50 feet of the proposed work limits, will be controlled as follows. Woody stems of the invasive species will be cut in the late summer or fall, start parentheses, prior to leaf fall, end parentheses, and stems will be spot treated with a 20% concentrated solution of systemic herbicides such as glyphosate, in parentheses, aka Roundup. That's what I found to be effective for these woody invasives.
And does it have to be done by a licensed applicator? You suggested staff was going to do it.
Right, it can be done by the operator, property owner, but if it's done by an outside company, it has to be licensed.
Well, I think also you have to have someone within the wastewater treatment plant have a license to do that, because
that's my understanding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think you could just send your maintenance man out there unless he's licensed. That's not the law.
Correct.
We can do it in our own backyards, but
Yeah.
not a city guy, not a city project.
Unless he's licensed.
Unless he's licensed.
Correct. So
And
extend it to 100 feet.
That's why I said push it back to 100 feet. We're going to clip it.
Yeah.
Art, the other thing that I've seen on a lot of specs for removal is that it specifies that the cuttings shall be removed from the property. Otherwise, often they can grow, your brush pile turns into a new garden.
Mm-hmm.
I might suggest that in the future you think about adding that.
Well, Tom, I would disagree with that, though, if they're doing it in the late fall. So if it's vines and they're cutting them, we don't want them to pull them out of the trees with all the berries on them, and then all the berries are dispersed. So I think if it's done in the fall, like they've mentioned, and then they leave the vine on the tree, they cut it and then apply an herbicide. That way it's not spreading the berries. I mean, sure, through birds.
Thank you for helping me think that through. Thank you. You're absolutely correct.
But with say like the shrubs, I think you are right with that. So if
Yeah.
they're removing, they need to remove those.
They'll continue to hang in the trees. I wasn't picturing it properly. Thank you. I'm okay with 100 feet.
Is that be acceptable to the group?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good for me, yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions or concerns? All right, any questions or concerns from the audience concerning this particular project? All right, seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Tom,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Yes,
Carl,
yes.
Alex,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Anna, do you have the special conditions that you can post?
My computer is very slow.
Hi.
I want to tell Karen she's not muted.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to feed my cat here.
Okay, all right. I knew you shut your camera off. I wanted you to know we can still hear you.
I didn't think you wanted to see my cat, so.
I want to
Cats
see
are
the
fun.
cat.
And I'm glad you finished your dinner, Alex.
I did. It was great. That was an entirely different meeting, Tom. I didn't drag that out here into the public meeting.
Yeah, when you I figured you had dessert when you recused yourself on
Never
the
know, right?
on the Springfield. Yeah.
I just got another seltzer water. That's all.
David, my spies tell me you've been sighted on the golf course.
What spies are those?
Some of my fellow workers at the ranch.
Yes, I was. It was a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, we've got a couple coming our way too.
Okay. Any luck
We're,
with
we're almost there. I promise, it's almost there.
Tom? I did see a snapping turtle walking across the fairway of the first hole.
I've seen the same turtle. I've seen him. He's a big one.
Probably she, if she's walking across the fairway looking for
That's true.
place to lay eggs.
Got it.
Had a fellow golfer walk up to a big snapping turtle with his 4-iron and said, "Watch this." And he held the iron out. That turtle grabbed the club so that Tim could actually lift it in the air. It wasn't going to let go. They're powerful, powerful jaws.
Okay, why don't you scroll up to number 50? All the others before that are general. Okay, so there's no SWIP on this particular project.
Mm-mm.
All right, so 51 de-recording, yes.
It's city property, right? So,
Oh, you're right.
well,
Well, we should have a sign anyway.
mhm.
And then, so restriction language, I guess we don't need that one. Okay. There's no wildlife habitat. Applicant letter, yes. 55. 56, yes, for the contractor. 57, yes, for the excavator. 58, yes. 59, yes. 60, pre-construction meeting, yes. 61, yes. Emergency contact and 48-hour notice, yes. 62. 63, no. 64, no. 65, no. 6, no. Pump storage, yes. There's no- There are trees that are going to be removed. They weren't tagged.
Well, they have a limit of work. I mean, really, because they're removing all the trees, so within the limit of work, right?
I guess you can make a note here saying that. Permanent basins, yes. No salt zone, yes. 72, yes. Wait. Now that mentions herbicides, but we are going to be using.
Right. Right.
Well, I guess we'll keep, don't include that one, I guess.
Right. You want to take that off, yeah.
And low flow, we don't need that one.
No.
Straw bales, yes.
Mm-hmm.
75, yes. Erosion controls. 76, yes. Okay. 78. I don't think we need that one. There's no new catch basins, are there?
Mm-mm.
So we don't need 79 or 80 or 81.
Mm-mm.
There's no stormwater.
There is a stormwater, right? There's an infiltration basin, right?
All right, so 82, we'll keep it. 83. Okay, keep going. All right, there's no environmental monitor required, so we can skip that section. There's no watering. Skip that. There's no dredging.
Okay.
Okay, 106, yes. 107, yes. 108, yes. 9, well, I don't know. Nobody's going to buy a wastewater treatment. What if they privatize it? 5 years or so, you know.
Really were. Well, it's not going to be on the deed, right? Why don't we check 109?
All right, let's be safe. 110, yes. Is there a maintenance plan?
No, not that they submitted.
Well,
Well, it's basically an administrative building, Dave, so. I don't think they need it, but.
well, I guess they need to maintain the detention basin and the comp storage basin.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's if there's one submitted, though. They didn't submit an O&M plan with the notice of intent.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the O&M plan was provided in as an appendix of the stormwater report.
Yeah, I'm sure it was in there.
Okay, so then that applies.
Yes. Number 12, yes, 112. Okay, so keep going. So it's under 115.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the appropriate one for bonds. Okay. All right. Any special conditions?
100 feet.
Right, the invasive management plan within 100 feet of the limit of work. Comply with whatever they had submitted, whatever document they had submitted, dated, whatever.
So we'll just amend that 50 feet to 100 feet.
Gotcha.
Any other special conditions you'd like to add? Okay, seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the order of conditions.
So moved.
Have a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thanks for your time. Have a
Good luck.
All right, item B, 0 Southampton Road. Installation of new self-storage building. Continued from 4/26/2022. And there was a site visit yesterday.
Which I was unable to make that site visit, but this is a pretty interesting site, as I remember. It has a lot of water on it. I've never walked it, but I've heard there was like a major beaver dam somewhere in the back of that property.
We didn't run across the beaver dam. We walked the whole 12 acres, I think, yesterday.
Who was with you, David?
Carl and Lauren, Karen, Anna, Ryan, I think the owner. Ryan, do you want to start off?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from Arlevec Associates. We're representing the applicant. As you summarized our site visit, we walked the entire wetland boundary of the property. Our proposed project site is limited to just the northwestern portion or upland peninsula of the site, although we are requesting the wetland boundaries for the whole parcel to be included as part of this NOI. So our project site is located in this upland area here. It's a proposed self-storage facility, so there'd be 4 buildings. The corners were staked out in the field. We're keeping all disturbance outside the 50-foot buffer zone. Right now, it's currently forested. It's a mix of deciduous and conifer trees, a lot of hemlock, white pine, black birch, red maple. Our stormwater basin is located in the rear here. We have addressed all the planning board comments. There were no comments from engineering regarding stormwater. I had submitted the wetland determination data forms, which is the only outstanding comment from DEP. Aside from that, don't really have any further changes since we last met.
Brian, how does our new tree policy apply to this project?
I'm unfamiliar what new tree policy. I'm not sure what.
Okay, we'll have to make you familiar.
Okay, comments from the commission?
I had a couple of questions. One is that the proposed storage buildings on the west side and somewhat to the east, but mostly on the west side, are very close to that 50-foot. And won't there be some sort of maintenance behind those buildings?
Let me zoom in here. Yeah, so we are showing a fence going behind the building, maybe 3, 4, 5 feet or so, but there'd be a small grassed perimeter at the rear of the buildings, yes.
But does that move into that 50-foot zone, or does it manage to stay outside?
Nope, so our 50-foot buffer zone is this heavy black dash line here. And the line type that says SF running almost parallel with the proposed fence is our limit of work.
Okay.
Yep.
And there won't need to be maintenance outside of that fence area?
No, just mowing, probably on both sides of the fence, but it would stay within that permitted limit of work.
I'm not sure that this is oriented with the compass. I'm assuming it is, but will the fence be on the east and west sides also?
Yes, so there's a fence encompassing the entire site, and there'd be a gated entrance. So north is looking right-hand side of the page. This would be west. So the fence starts at the gate here, right here, and then it wraps all the way around, including the stormwater basin, all the way down here, and then back to the entrance.
Ryan, what is groundwater at here where these buildings will be?
Sure. Let me pull that up. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Jim, have you walked this property on previous?
The last time I walked it was at least 10 years ago, I suspect. So I could not make the visit yesterday. I had a previous commitment. I drive by it fairly often. I can see it, into it.
Yes.
And I know historically there had been a significant amount of groundwater. That's why I was asking what the table is.
Was it you that told me that, that there was again, significant beaver activity on this property?
Not I. It was I thought that there was a vernal pond, but and I'll be asking Karen for any history she might have found, and Anna, but
not beavers. I may be mixed up with another piece of property.
Yeah, no, I don't remember it on this one.
Okay.
So to answer your question about the groundwater, it varied a little bit, but we encountered a densic CD parent material anywhere from the mid-20s to about 30 inches in the area of the proposed buildings. So these are test pit locations shown here.
Okay. So I'm guessing these are on slabs?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So has there been any consideration for hydrostatic pressure that will build up from the weight of these buildings as to how it will affect the groundwater and the rest of the resource areas.
What do you mean by pressure from the buildings?
Well, the weight of the building and what will that do to water storage capacity, and just once again, the weight of the building causing hydrostatic pressure in the ground,
So
moving water elsewhere.
Yep. So the A horizon, the topsoil horizon, and the subsoil layer were relatively shallow at the site. Like I said, it goes to about 30 inches or so. And then we hit this extremely firm red parent material that water wasn't permeating. It was riding on top of that. So I think in terms of constructability, the buildings would be constructed on very solid material. As for stormwater redirection, everything on site is going to be sloped to the rear here to these catch basins within low points along the curbs, and then routed to this detention basin here to get some recharge, and then it meters out the flow to the same wetland areas. So water's still getting to the same areas. We're not redirecting the subcatchment for stormwater.
Okay.
Ryan, I forgot exactly how you worded it, but did you say you didn't hear back from city engineering, or that they actually looked at this? On our last project, we wondered, they've had some staffing changes. Did they look at these?
Yes. So as part of our planning board comment response, number 12, stormwater review recommendation from city engineers pending. And our response was, I believe Rebecca Lee, our engineering office, had a conversation with Mark Crissati on May 3rd. He had no comments regarding the stormwater evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from the commission?
I'd just like to ask, by the way, David, I don't know if the others are having a hard time hearing you, but your sound quality's dropped off rather dramatically.
All right, I'll try to turn it up.
Ryan, does the city require a curb cut permit? Do you have to have a permit from highway department to go out onto the road?
I'm not 100% sure, but almost every town does have, yes, a local driveway or access curb cut,
right?
Independent from any Mass DOT. Yes.
So I wanted to ask Karen and Anna what they found on any history from our previous site visits.
There's a lot of history, I can tell you that. It looks like, based upon what I saw looking back through the files for the parcel number, in 2008 it was protected habitat for wood turtles. In 2010 it was no longer protected habitat, and from there the site and the parcel have proceeded to not be protected, whether by vernal pools, rivers. The Armbrook is now intermittent through that parcel, so it doesn't have to follow the 200-foot riverbank buffer. So that's kind of just all the information I found.
Okay, thank you.
From your walk, Karen and Anna, did you observe any vernal pools? Or
Yeah.
Ryan, did you discover any?
No vernal pools, no.
There might be an area behind Cumberland Farms that may function as a vernal pool from time to time. That was the only place I saw that had enough standing water. Maybe, but there wasn't any other area.
Right.
But I have a question for Ryan.
Sure.
How much fill do you need to bring in?
I don't have exact numbers, but let me just take a look here.
You're raising the site how many feet, do you think?
So the western portion of the site would be a slight cut. So if you look 290, existing grade's 293. At the back of the buildings here, you have 288, 289's existing grade. So you're cutting anywhere from 1 to 3 feet on the western part of the site. But then on the eastern part of the site, you're filling because you have to maintain, a flat finished floor. We can't have the building be changing, stepping, or sloping in elevation. And the land slopes away towards the wetland. So we would need fill on this eastern side. And that fill ranges, looks like maybe 4 or 5 feet of fill at the most on this outer extent. So we'd be cutting material on the west side and using it to fill on the east side. Whether that's, a deficit cut or balance, I'm not sure.
It looks like you're dropping 7 feet on the, I don't know what side that is.
Eastern.
Yep, 288 at the back of the buildings to 281. Yes.
And how is that going to be stabilized?
So we're going to be installing stone riprap on this segment here, which is a 1.5 to 1 slope. And we're doing that to stay outside the 50-foot buffer zone. And then for this long stretch behind these buildings, it would be a 2 to 1 grass slope with erosion control matting or blanketing installed once final grades are achieved.
And you said there was a proposed fence. How tall?
Let me see here. It would be a 6-foot high black vinyl coated chain link fence.
Ryan, the erosion controls will go around this entire site. Is that what I'm not sure how you're representing them.
Yes. So we have a silt fence that's proposed along the entire perimeter of the work site with a construction anti-tracking pad at the construction entrance.
Yep.
What kind of maintenance, this may be outside our purview, but what kind of maintenance is required for this type of facility for, they're notorious for people leaving trash and throwing trash over the fence. And what are they required, I guess, in the industry? How do they handle
that? That's a good question. So I would think on the eastern side, I don't know if throwing things over the fence would be that accessible due to the grade change. They'd have to walk down there. It's not like they can back a vehicle up to it. I guess there would have to be, I'm not sure, some sort of company, policy or maintenance plan regarding that.
There could be a special condition for the commission,
Yeah.
Because it looks like that bump out in the western side there, right where your cursor is, you could probably back right up there and start dumping,
Okay, and just to let the commission know, this would be a gated access facility, so only those with permission to enter will be able to get through the gate.
Ryan, do we need to think about signage? Stay off signs, wetland signs?
Yeah, I mean, if the commission feels that's necessary, we're certainly not opposed to it.
Hey, Ryan.
Yep.
Do you have a snow removal plan for this place?
Good question.
Let me check.
Good question.
Yeah, really good.
Hey, Ryan, I think you muted yourself.
Sorry about that. We don't have specific snow areas designated, but just looking at the plan here quickly, it looks like there's some room in the back right, in the back left, perhaps in the front, but I don't think a traditional snow plow on a truck would work here. Probably need a front loader to get snow away from all these doors, these front facing doors, and to stockpile it elsewhere.
Especially because it's one-way traffic to the site or through the property.
Well, I believe that was a planning board question as well. Let me just see, confirm here. The drive aisles are 23.5 feet wide. So it's a one-way traffic pattern that allows room for someone to pull off to the side. So essentially, if someone was parked alongside their unit, there'd be room for you to pass around them.
I think that's a really decent question on the snow removal though, because it's going to end up in the basin. There's nowhere else to put it. I mean, how much square footage of pavement do you have, and how much space do you have to put that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's room. We could bump it out here. There's room outside the 50. We could certainly make an area.
It's not going to get dumped over. It's not going to get dumped over the fence in the back to where the brook is, correct? I mean, we don't know that.
That's why signs would be good.
But that's a really good point about the snow, that even if that is in that corner, as it melts, it's going to all run into the wetland area.
And then we're not even talking like the icing. You're going to have people in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
For safety issues.
All right.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a question about your handling of water, of rain.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got it now, all of it going to the detention basin on the left-hand side?
Correct.
Okay. Are there berms around the entire side parking area?
Yes, there's curbing. Yep. So all the stormwater is captured and held interior to the developed part of the site.
Okay. Can you move your image up a little bit? Okay. I mean, right now, all along that area, because of the slope, starting with the road, any water that hits the top of that hill is going down towards the wetland on either side, all along that ridge line. But now you've got all that water that potentially would percolate, directly into the wetland, along the wetland. All of it's going into the detention basin, and it's going into the wetland in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to affect the water across the entire wetland? Because it's being discharged into one area now and not continuously along the entire extent of the wetland along that ridge.
Yep. So I understand what you're saying. Let me see if I can draw on this here. Anyway, so there is a ridge on this upland peninsula. However, the high point of the ridge is right about here, and here's the other high point. Here's the other high point contour, another one here. So really the bisecting part of this ridge is a line that runs like this. So, I'd say about 90% of this development area, pre and post, drains to this easterly wetland. So all this water is going to be routed to the detention basin, and then it has a metered outflow here. So, I mean, yes, it's the water outlet or I should say outfall is getting located, 100 yards farther south, but I would say 90% of the water is still going to the same destination.
But how is that going to get to the wetland up, close to North Road. Which is also, all along the entire wetland, there's water coming from the ridge. And now it's going to be coming into just one spot on the wetland. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the hydrology at the other end of the wetland, towards the road. And I guess I have a bone to pick with USGS because that stream did not look intermittent to me.
I wondered about that too. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they define it, but it had a good flow in it.
Yeah, I had forward over the stream stats. It doesn't meet the half square mile criteria or the low flow duration during the 99th percentile to be eligible.
Yeah,
for
the
perennial
stream
stream.
stats have it at 80%, and it needs to be at 99.
Now, where's the aquifer located relative to this project?
Yep. So this is the Aquifer Protection District boundary this here. So this would be in it, and this is out of it, and our project site is up here.
The aquifer is down gradient of your proposed
Correct.
structure.
Correct. Yes.
Ryan, could you put your cursor over the site location and the aquifer area?
So this is the site location.
Wait a minute, okay, my image was, all right, I got you. All right. Yep.
And then the aquifer is down here, this line.
Okay.
So currently, this parcel is not permitted for self-storage. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the effect of us approving this?
Well, we have,
Not approved for self-storage.
I don't know if that's correct. We have a special permit before the planning board requesting for the use.
It came before the planning board last week, and it was extended until their next meeting.
But it hasn't been approved.
Has not been approved yet for the special permit now. But it kind of goes twofold. If the planning board approves it, then it's on us to approve it. If we approve it, then it's on the planning board to approve it or not approve it.
Well, is it more likely that they would approve it if we say it's okay?
That's up to them.
I don't see that happening tonight. Do you, David?
What's
Approval?
that? Yeah.
Approval?
Hmm.
Ryan doesn't even know that we have a new ordinance. I think he needs to come back to us with a tree plan, some kind of replacement plan for the, I have no idea how many trees are coming down. This is probably not a good example of our new policy, but
can I just ask, is this tree, is this a new bylaw under the purview of the Conservation Commission?
Yes.
Yes, it was approved several months ago.
And I also think that when he has a chance to rethink it, that his offer to show us how he's going to handle snow removal, where they're going to put it, is not a bad. We should also ask for that information.
There is on the screen right now snow storage notes on the right-hand side. And it notes where the snow will be stored in vegetated landscape areas adjacent to paved areas. In the event of multiple successive winter storms, snow will be trucked off-site.
So in other words, it would be within the 50-foot buffer. Is that what that means?
No, it would be within within the limit of work. We're not encroaching upon the limit of work.
So you're going to keep all the snow inside the fence? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow. That sounds ambitious.
Got to go along with Tom here and say the only vegetated landscaped area within the limit of work is the detention basin, and that's not really an appropriate snow storage location. So I think that point requires some more thought. And the tree replacement policy is referenced in the ordinance, Ryan. If you go on the conservation webpage, it's one of the helpful links, tree replacement policy.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Ryan, you probably have it, but is there a maintenance plan for the detention basin?
Yes, always. Yep.
Okay, good. And this is a little bit off subject, but I've never seen the planning board paperwork before. That's pretty professional. They actually send out, who does that? Does Jay do that, or does the planning board actually put together a list of questions that they send out to you before they have their hearing?
Yeah, usually Jay sends us a comment letter. Yes. Yep.
Huh. Could we use a similar model, or is that getting too? I'm just thinking out loud. That looked pretty cool. I mean, we try to wing it every meeting. We try to, think of everything, but if we had a program to go by, that would be sweet. Did everybody get what I'm talking about? Did everybody know what that document was that Ryan kept referring back to with the questions?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Anna, could you get us a copy of, maybe a couple of those that Jay
It
has
was
done?
sent to me today, or yesterday evening, and I got it earlier today.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, can you show us the larger plot plan? Because part of this NOI is to approve the delineation of the entire wetland area. And so we walked the whole ridgeline area to the left, and then we walked the wetlands to the right-hand side as well, coming up pretty close to the back of Cumberland Farms. And again, they're quite extensive back in there. So is this an area that's designated as future construction, or is the delineation just to know where they are? Or maybe you can't answer that question. I don't know.
The delineation was to determine the feasible areas of the site.
Okay.
So we did the work for the whole property. Might as well get it approved since we did the work.
How many other sites are feasible?
Depends on the use. I'm not sure.
For like something like this. What is this, like 2,000 square feet?
No, the self-storage facility is much larger than 2,000 square feet. It's probably a couple acres.
I was talking about the building size.
Oh.
So if we just picture, could you put another 2 or 3 self-storage units on this property?
From a square footage standpoint, yes.
Uh-huh.
Access and, you'd still need the planning board special permit again, but.
David, did you have concerns about the delineation? About the?
No, I think the delineations look very good. I think they were accurate. My concern, my problem with this is the Armbrook not being a perennial stream. But that's my, I can't determine that, I guess. USGS has to do that. It's unfortunate that it's not perennial.
Well, there's a great deal we could do about that. We could challenge the current listing, especially if we strongly feel that it's, if local knowledge, if we know that it stays wet or stays above 80% or whatever the rule is, we could hire someone to document that for us. I think it's just observation. I think it just someone has to look at it over a 3-month period, once a month or twice a month or something crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's calculated. Do you know that the specifics, Karen?
I don't know how USGS does it, and I've never had to appeal it to them, so I'm not sure of the process. But I imagine there's an appeal process to everything, so we could look into it. I don't know. Ryan, do you know? I don't know.
There's no provisions in the Wetlands Protection Act,
Not that I know.
Massachusetts, for overturning it to make it perennial.
Mm.
The criteria for how it's determined is pretty darn clear.
Mm.
But it also, wouldn't something like that change over time? 10, 20 years from now, is the water going to still be where it is now? Especially with, if you start throwing buildings on the land. I know that there's a way that people can challenge it the opposite direction, that they can say, no, that's, it's dry all the time. So certainly we could, I would think, flip-flop it.
Yeah, I was looking into that a little bit, and I found something that was let's see, what did they call it? A preference to revisions to the Mass Wetlands regulations relating in particular to perennial rivers or distinguishing perennial rivers from intermittent streams. And yeah, it did sound as if we could appeal to DEP to have them look at that. I was a little bit concerned about not only Arm Brook, but the other, what they called the unnamed stream on the other side, as to making sure that we had the designations for those correct. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think we can
unnamed
ask
and it's
them to look
unmapped.
at it.
That Anna?
I was just saying it's unnamed and unmapped, but I was wondering if Marianne here had answers to our questions that we've been proposing.
Are you
She's
asking? Yeah, I saw my hand up, right? I don't know if it's time for questions from the public.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Okay, all right.
Please be patient. Thank you.
I am. I've been here since 6:30.
All right, any other questions from the commission at this time?
Yes, one here. Ryan, how come you didn't call out the stream channels, even if they were sporadic on the plan? I mean, I know we did see a couple of channels and it's not reflected. Why did you choose not to do that?
Because they're intermittent and within a BVW, so they're not the outermost resource area. So their projection of buffer zone is overlapped by the projection of buffer zone from the wetland. So essentially it's just unnecessary survey work that doesn't change the design buffer zone we go by.
Gotcha. Sometimes it's reflected, but I understand.
Yep.
Repetitive work, but yep, gotcha. And my second question was, and this may be off, but are you restricted if your storage units are approved? Are there restrictions as to materials that can be held in there?
I'm not sure. There haven't been any the special permit has not been issued by the planning board yet, so I'm not sure.
And that's where that would be called out?
I don't know. They may or they may not. I'm not sure if they would govern that or not.
Cool question though, Karen. I mean, it does raise a whole mess of questions. Somebody wanted to keep all his nasty chemicals.
Right.
And suddenly those cans started to leak.
Right.
I hadn't thought about that either.
I want to say I saw something about that, but I can't recall.
Does the stormwater system have a containment if there is a spill of some kind? Shut-off valve, something like that?
There is a water quality unit that all the catch basins go to prior to, so but no, there's no like holding tank or shut off. No.
Right.
There's a sediment forebay in the detention basin.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm thinking that we've got our key issues out there, the tree replacement policy, the snow storage issue, and then it sounds like we may be doing internally asking our coordinators to look into this perennial stream issue further. I'm sensing there's some public comment, and I'm seeing that it's 8:37 in the evening and we're not going to approve this tonight. So I'm looking to move ahead here if we can.
That's a good suggestion. Okay.
I can, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Alex. I do have one. I just want to isolate something though, and ask Ryan to look at it. When I was asking the questions about groundwater, and he's already addressed some drainage issues, the spirit of the request is really, what is the applicant potentially going to do to not disturb the sheet flow of water and the flow of water and the hydrostatic pressure of the soil and the groundwater, which is its own environment. I'm concerned about those changes that will happen, that will affect this entire wetland area. And because you're disturbing multiple acres, that will have a ripple effect on these resource areas. And I haven't really seen much of how you're planning on addressing it, Ryan. So I'll leave that for the next meeting for you to talk about a little deeper. Okay?
All right, thank you, Jim. Yes, anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Yeah, we are getting a little late, so please be as brief as you can. Mary Ann.
Yes, thank you, Marian Bavinsky. I'll make it quick because a lot of the comments that you already made were a lot of the concerns and reservations that we have had. I guess I'm speaking today because a few other people were at the planning board and did send information to the last Conservation Commission meeting too that aren't here tonight. So we're kind of like speaking for the natural environment and the habitat here because they can't speak for themselves. So we are very concerned, have been, and I've worked on the water resource protection zoning for quite a while when I was on the city council. And we were looking at doing some changes and updating to the resource protection area. This property does overlap the water resource protection, as you saw toward the south. The concern is Armbrook runs from this property right into and through or over the water resource protection zone. And I guess you know that anything that drops into a stream or a brook, no matter, even if you can straddle that brook, will eventually flow, in this case, into the and over the water resource protection zone. So we've got people still looking at trying to determine whether and when this happened, that this used to be perennial, but now it's all of a sudden we're calling it intermittent. I don't know if any of you listened to the meeting of the planning board, but there was a couple, and I don't know if you took an opportunity to talk to them, that live across the street from this. And this gentleman is Mr. Del Zova, I guess his name was, said that he's walked this property for 19 years. He said in 19 years, it's never gone dry. And there's more in the article. That was an article that appeared in the Westfield News. So the question is, I mean, if you go back to I think it was 82, there's documents that I found that seem to claim that Armbrook was perennial. When that top part, all of a sudden, we're trying to claim now that it's intermittent. When did it change? And why did it change? Mr. DeZolo, I even talked about beavers. Somebody had mentioned it here from the Conservation Commission. So I think to make a long story short, so I don't take up all your time because it's been a long meeting, is there are also some intermittent wellhead protection areas very close to this project that are at the Diane Label property and the White Oaks property that we were even considering when we were working on the zoning ordinance, is to include those in water, some sort of water protection, and put some restrictions on it. So I think there's a lot of other things, and I think there were some excellent questions and concerns that were brought up by the commission, some of the commission members tonight. And so I hope that you do have this continued and get answers to those questions, because we're trying to get answers to those questions too. And one of the concerns that I had too is listening at the planning board, that it was mentioned that the owner of this property and putting in these storage does have the intention to eventually enlarge it, to extend and use that other property there. And so is that going to be straddling Armbrook? I mean, we're already messing around with doing things to our wetland property up there and to Armbrook and to the water resource protection. So I hope we can get the answers, more answers to these questions that you brought up today and that we have too. And not knowing what these people are going to be storing in these buildings was definitely one of the concerns brought up at the planning board meeting. So I don't know if there's anything else that you have.
Well, thank you. Anyone else from the audience? I can't see because we're still looking at the plan.
Are you going to keep this open, the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak to this project?
David, just to reiterate what Marianne was saying, at one point when she mentioned like how did the stream flow suddenly change, that was also one of my ideas, and I had spoken to Lauren and Carl about it when we were on our site visit yesterday, is why at this parcel is it suddenly intermittent and then continues on to be perennial, and is there something blocking it? And I did go into the culvert that was there at that location. The other side of the culvert is very fast running water. But I was wondering if there was something further upstream that is blocking the flow of the water and causing it to not qualify as a perennial stream anymore.
It's hard to tell all the way, because there may be beavers farther, north, I guess, on the stream. Anybody else in the audience concerning this project? Can we continue it? All right, I think we've put together a variety of questions that need to be addressed. So I would entertain a motion to continue to, what's it?
24th?
May 24th. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item C, 231 East Main Street. Proposal for building a drive-through restaurant. In accordance with provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, a public hearing will be held on May 10, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. by virtual meeting regarding a notice of intent filed by Brixmore SPE for construction of a drive-through restaurant. The work that is proposed is subject to jurisdiction under the Wetlands Protection Act and Westfield Wetlands Ordinance. Location of the proposed work is 231 East Main Street in Westfield. Located in the bordering land of subject to flooding at Westgate Plaza. Okay, do we have a proponent for this particular project?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates again.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Thank you. Representing Brixmore. These are the same folks that proposed the Aldi site a couple of years ago that's under construction. So this is the same property, 231 East Main Street. This is located in between the existing Taco Bell and the People's Bank. So if you look at the existing conditions plan here, this is the People's Bank building. Taco Bell is over here. And our proposed project site is right in here. So this is located within bordering land subject to flooding. As we had talked about, that confluence of the Little River and the Westfield River. The flood elevation is 133. Work on site will begin with saw cutting and removing existing pavement, this hatched area here. This is the proposed drive-through restaurant building, about 2,456 square feet. There'd be drive-through menu boards located here. Traffic would circulate around the site. There's additional landscaped or grassed islands proposed. So overall, the site will have a net decrease in impervious surface. This is our drainage sheet. We are proposing a subsurface infiltration chamber system underneath the parking lot, which will take only roof leader stormwater from the proposed building. All other stormwater on site from paved parking areas will sheet flow to existing catch basins located within the parking lot. The nearest one is located down here, just off outside the lease area. So overall, we're improving stormwater infiltration on site with the infiltration of roof leader water, and we're reducing the amount of impervious within the site. Let me go back one, sorry. As for compensatory storage, so since the site is within the flood zone, we have site grading at elevations 125 to 127.75, which is the finished floor of the building. And then the remaining flood storage, flood zone displacements from 128 to 133 would arise from just the building volume displacement, which is constant at each interval. So I've added this table to the plan set. If you look here on the left, it gives our elevation range in 1 foot increments. The next column is banked surplus compensatory storage in cubic yards from the 0 South Meadow Road Westfield site. So this was the comp storage parcel that Brixmor had constructed to the south across the river. That was completed last fall. If you guys remember, we came back with an amended order of conditions request to enlarge that compensatory storage area so it could accommodate future projects such as this. So arising from that area that was excavated, there was 6,410 cubic yards of banked comp storage. Since that time, over winter, there was another NOI that was approved in order of conditions for the Chipotle's restaurant that's being built right now. That took a total of 789, roughly 0.95 cubic yards of compensatory storage was allocated to that project. But under this current proposed project, our displacement numbers are located in this third column here. So the total displacement is a total of 1,109 cubic yards. And then the last column here gives the remaining or running net total of comp storage that's available for future uses within the same flood zone area. So overall, reducing impervious, improving groundwater recharge, and we have more than adequate comp storage for the proposed project for the impacts to BLSF. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Ryan, real quick, please go through the improved drainage that you're talking about.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yep. So we're modifying some of these islands. If you can look here, this underlaid grayer is the existing island. So we're expanding. We'd be saw cutting, removing pavement, and increasing the size of the grassed island here. And then to aid in parking and traffic navigation, we're creating all of these grassed islands here, which are currently pavement. So we're converting X amount of square footage from pavement to grass.
And then you're taking the rainwater from the roof of the building, did you say?
Correct.
And it's going where?
Yep. So all these roof leaders go to a collection drain right here, then to a manhole that goes to these subsurface chambers underneath the parking lot.
And where does it go from there?
This whole area is very like a gravelly sand, so it just infiltrates into the ground beneath it. So there's a crushed stone base that these chambers are bedded in that allows the water to infiltrate.
Yeah, a little bit off subject, but did you do the same kind of design for the monster building next door, the Brixmor?
The Aldi's building?
I'm sorry, the Aldi's building.
I don't remember off the top of my head whether we hooked into existing drainage or if we had a subsurface. I'd have to go back and look.
All right, just curious.
Yep.
Brian, is this completely drive-through or can people walk into it?
No, people can walk into it also.
Okay.
Yep, we do have parking
Mhm.
along these aisles here, and the front entrance is up here. So everywhere you see a door, or sorry, this black triangle on the building, that's an entry door.
Okay.
I have a question for Ryan. Ryan, on the below ground storage for the roof runoff, what is the event that's designed for? 100-year, 50?
Sure. Yep. Let me check this is our stormwater drainage report.
Okay.
The 100-year storm is 6.5 inches in 24 hours. And this table here shows our pre versus post. So in that same 100-year storm scenario, the design point we've calculated under current conditions would be 4.07 cubic feet per second. And under post or constructed conditions, we would reduce that peak discharge to 3.48. So the site is handling stormwater better under constructed conditions versus current.
Okay, hold on. All right, so basically then you've got capacity. Wait a minute. You've got 407 versus post 3.48. So it's a little bit less capacity?
No, that's the discharge rate. That's how much stormwater.
Oh, okay. Discharge.
The
Okay.
site. Yep.
All right. So it'll handle a 100-year storm.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ryan. In past winters, I've seen often that's a place where the bucket loaders pile snow if we do a big storms. You know, where's that going to go?
So I think there's areas. We have this area along the front and all these additional grassed areas we're adding. There's one along here. So there's no new entrance onto East Main Street. They're using this existing entrance over here. We're infilling and creating a lawn area on about 6 or 7 spaces over here. So I'm sure there's room to just redirect things.
So looking at your arrows, if someone comes in off of East Main Street, how do they get to that site? Through that big parking lot?
Yep. So they would come down this main drive aisle here, and then they'd be turning into the site here.
Okay.
Yeah. Or they could come up this way and wrap around and get through the drive through here. Alternatively, they could come this way too.
Yeah. All right, this is Commission.
Well, I echo David's thoughts a little bit too. I mean, reducing the amount of impervious is great. That's going to take up quite a few existing parking spaces. And I wonder too about not only where some of the snow is going to be stored and the snow equipment, but also if there's going to be adequate parking for the remaining businesses.
Yep. So we've addressed all that through the site plan approval through the planning board. We did a parking analysis of the entire site that included all the tenants, Taco Bell, TJ Maxx, Aldi's, and the proposed project. So based on those allocated uses, required parking was 437 spaces. And under proposed conditions, there would be 529. So we're still exceeding the required parking minimum.
Yeah. How do you get more parking if you're filling up part of the parking lot with a new business?
Well, we'd be reducing parking. So currently there's 601 spaces. With the proposed restaurant constructed, it would drop down to 529.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does the Commission want to go for a site visit?
Mr. Chair, does this have, did anybody look at this stormwater submission? Did we ask that question?
Not yet.
I guess Ryan, did Mark comment on this one at all or no?
I haven't received anything, and I know we haven't gotten DEP comments either.
Okay.
Okay. So we need to continue. Yeah. But does anyone want to go out there and take a look at the site?
Seems as if it might be a useful thing,
Okay.
if it's not too difficult to set that up.
So Anna can set up a visit out there. Okay.
Mhm.
Nothing's too difficult for Anna.
Any, I'd like to move this along. If there are no other questions, I'd like to continue this and move to the remainder of the meeting.
I'll make a motion that we continue until our next meeting.
We have a second.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Carl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, item 5, enforcement, 33 Castle Hill Road. There was a site visit out there on 5/6, and we were expecting a proposal today. You want to get us up to date, Anna and Karen?
So at the site visit, it was myself, Jim, Tom, and Carl. We requested that Mr. Kopacz just submit to us in writing his plans for fixing the site because he felt that hiring a consultant would take too long and he can fix it sooner. So he submitted a written plan and proposal to us, as well as sketches and drawings of the gradient that needs to be fixed, for lack of a better term.
You received those today?
I received them a few days ago. I can share the document with you. I already have it open, turns out. So currently his site plans involve installing a geotextile silt fencing along the base of the hill, row of straw in front of the silt fence and secure it, removing the existing tobacco netting, and then applying 3 inches of topsoil to cover the area. The permanent seed will be applied to the area in a straw erosion control blanket, which will be held by stakes. And the top of the bank will have a continuous 10-inch by 24-inch by 2-inch trap rock berm. And then he gave us wonderful drawings that I cannot rotate. Nope, I can rotate. There we go. So essentially this would be the top of the property. This is the berm, and then it's a downward slope, probably about 60 degrees, if not more. And that would be the area of work in which the topsoil and the seeding and the erosion control would go down on top of.
Any other comments from the commissioners who went out on the site visit?
Well, it's a pretty dramatic drop off. I've never seen anything quite like this. The way Mr. Kopacz explained it is pretty much as Anna explained too. And where he would go with I believe it was a 3-step process. I see he's logged on. Maybe he can explain it himself, Mr. Kopacz.
Yeah, just what, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, silt fence, the bales of hay, the bales of straw. I'm gonna pull the netting up, put the topsoil down, seed it, put the erosion control and then put the berm on top right away. And if you let me do it, I can have it done by the next meeting. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I keep going in and out on my phone.
We
How-
can hear you.
Yes. How are you going to
Okay.
get, how are you going to get the topsoil over the entire area with it so steep?
We're gonna put the beginning part with the skid steer, and me and my guys are gonna rake the rest of it back down the bottom.
Okay. So there won't be any equipment on the slope.
Oh, absolutely not.
Um, for the commissioners who went out there, does that appear to be a proper way to, and a safe way to secure that slope?
We're not civil engineers, but what he is explaining seems to make some sense. And the fact that he's covering it with erosion control matting to top it off, I think that has a major positive effect upon it. There is a highly irregular surface there to trap and capture the topsoil. So I think that's to his benefit.
So is vegetation going to grow up through the mat?
Yes.
Okay. Now, does that mat decay and disintegrate over time, or does that stay? Is that a permanent?
No, it disintegrates. If you can hear me.
Yes. So it'll disintegrate over time as the plants grow?
Froze up.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll add too that I thought
Yes.
that given the conditions that were present, the steep slope and all, that getting something done probably sooner rather than later was a better thing, in that if there was a heavy rain that happened before something got done, it might create even more erosion of that slope. So I was sort of in favor of doing something sooner rather than later.
So is the rest of the commission in agreement that, this seems to be a proper way of approaching this?
We're not designers,
I know.
but from what he presented, it seems to make sense. Bob, I know, I don't think you saw it, Bob. It'd be nice if you gave some feedback on if that was possible. But, and it made Mr. Kopass, you were planning on straddling the erosion control from top to down, and obviously putting in the necessary staples to stabilize that, so that doesn't slump.
Correct.
But
correct.
Bob, is it possible for you to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'm with everybody that it needs to be stabilized. Sooner is better than later. If his proposal is adequate with everybody else, I guess I'm good with it. But I think there needs to be a backup plan, because if we do get a heavy rain, it's going to fail. Because it's going to take a little bit for germination to get established. I mean, it's not going to be established overnight.
That's why I'm putting the erosion control blanket on the whole thing.
I get that. I
Oh,
do
okay.
get that. I understand that, but
all right.
And with that severity of a slope, I would just be concerned.
Well, truthfully, what's going to help the whole thing is the berm up on top, because the bank, the rainwater, everything's going to go on the erosion control blanket. That's going to take care of itself. It's the water rushing down without having that berm in. That's where the problem is, and that's why I want to get that in right away.
So, Bill, where do you redirect the water with this 2-inch berm? Where will it go down that hill?
It'll start going down my driveway.
Back out to the road, you mean?
Yeah. What happens is, that's why when we were talking over, I think it was with Karen, she wanted me to put the 2-inch so it won't go down fast. It'll just permeate through the stone and then just go down. The trouble was the rapidness of when my whole bank settled and I had to wash.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
you are breaking up a little bit, Bill.
Mr. Chairman, I guess my opinion is that,
Oh, I know.
I share the concerns it could wash, but you know what? If he's got the proper controls at the bottom, it's going to be contained, and if it washes, he's going to have to repair it. So, as long as that erosion control is established at the bottom, if the vegetation germinates and takes, it's probably going to work. So, as long as the erosion control's good, I think we let him try it and we keep an eye on it, and it has to get amended if it's not taking, but it seems like a reasonable plan if he feels he can accomplish the work.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the straw bales stabilized at the base of the slope, protecting any silt that does come down. And hey, even if he got 50% germination rate, it's better than what he's got going on now. Even if he got 30%.
Hey, Karen and Anna, any comments from your visits?
What's he going to seed it with?
The erosion control that's embedded with the seeds that you recommended to him.
Just grass?
I think so. Not entirely certain what one he picked out.
Unless there's a seed with a deeper root structure that would help, that I can't answer that. I don't know.
Tom, to answer your question about the water flow, there is a drain on the driveway. So if the water does build up, it will not all rush out into the road and into the sewer system there. The drain goes, it reroutes down the hill. I don't necessarily know where it goes. I just know that it reroutes down the hill somewhere.
I visited the site. And as Jim said, I'm not an engineer. I'm not qualified, but I did come away with a very strong impression that this applicant, that this homeowner knows what he's doing, knows what needs to be done. He's already got the materials in his garage. He lives in a beautiful home. If this doesn't work, he's the kind of guy that's going to fix it. He's going to make it work. So I'm comfortable with, I'm echoing pretty much what Alex said. If it doesn't, he'll come back to us, or we'll go back to him.
Yeah, agreed. My thought is to let him proceed, and then, as Tom says, if we need to revisit, we will.
Last question. So the matting that he puts down on the hill has seeds embedded in it. Is that how this works?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that correct, Mr. Kopass?
I don't believe he's
We lost him.
able to communicate. He's still on the call, but I think he just broke up too much and his microphone's muted.
But that is correct, Jim.
Okay.
So it seems like there's a consensus of let him try, based upon the plan he submitted, and then evaluate it over time.
That's my thought. So should I make a motion then that we allow him to proceed and perhaps reassess it in a month or something? Or does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds great. I'll second that motion when you're ready to give it.
All right. Yeah, so for
So it's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I mean, how long will it take for that stuff to germinate?
Should be fairly quick if
Yeah.
it's going to be an erosion control seed. I mean, it can be 7 to 10 days with the ideal weather conditions. So,
Does that?
I mean, it's going to happen quick.
Does that mat get staked down in certain
Yes.
areas?
It's going to have to get stapled. It's going to have to get stapled down. to
Okay.
hold it.
All right.
I just don't know what the subsoil is underneath it. It's very rocky. It's very hard to staple it. That's all.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, Carl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Tom,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item B, 0 Bayberry Lane. Sergei Novenko, again, tree cutting, disturbing soils in the wetland. Again, continue from 4/26/22. Supposed to receive a restoration plan by today. There have been several site visits out there. Last one was yesterday, I think. So where are we?
Hi, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates again. I believe we had shown this last time. This is the plan showing the limits of what was cleared and what we believe to be the wetland boundaries that were disturbed. I was told there's a site visit this Wednesday at 1 p.m. and that the commission would review the boundaries, and then from there we would assess a restoration plan. I know some of you went yesterday. I wasn't able to attend. I had another meeting conflict, but
Brian, what did they not understand about stop, don't do any more, don't do any stumping? How did that get so confused?
I don't know. I was contacted after everything had been done and cut and stumped.
I thought perhaps you had talked to the landowner.
No.
No, you haven't. Okay.
No, I talked to him afterwards and helped him instruct how to put in the silt fence, which he did. But I haven't talked to him prior to the violation.
Right. Anna, did you indicate that the landscaper, the tree cutter guy is here today? Or was gonna be here today? We probably
meant to, but I
probably
never
put-
had contact information from them. Because it's stuff that was sent to Colleen, and so I wasn't able to contact them, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, again, I guess the site visit tomorrow is going to include Mary Grover from DEP. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because we did find some oily material through probably the front half of the site out there in the channels where there is stagnant water right now, and it's all the way down to the delineation that Ryan shows as a wetland. We did seem to see a wetland plants in other places as well, so that delineation may be changed. Any other questions or comments? Again, it's an ongoing, enforcement, and we need to get a definitive answer on what that material is before we get to the next step of, if it is oil, how do you get it out of there? How is this place, going to be decontaminated?
Have we done any formal communication with the landowner since we discovered that the stumps have been removed and since we discovered this black oily looking substance?
I believe he's here in attendance at the meeting. It's Sergei
That
Novenko.
yeah, I'm glad he's here, but have we, when we see something that's gone bad, do we send out a second letter saying, oh my gosh, you did exactly what we said not to do? Or do we not?
No, we handle it in the meeting, really.
And you guys tell us if you want us
Right.
to issue another letter.
I guess I would like that to happen. Yeah, I think, this is, I don't know. I mean, what a huge breakdown in communication. If you have a letter from the city saying, don't do it, and then you go ahead and do it, what the heck? Yeah, when we get to that point, I'm going to make a motion that we send a second letter.
Well, Tom, I think the stumps were removed before all this started. I don't think they were removed after our first letter.
I believe they were, David, though.
Oh,
Remember
really?
when you and I went and remember the forefront of the property was very dark soils and the back was very light.
That's correct, yeah.
And that was when all the stumps were in. We
Well,
issued enforcement saying, put up erosion. And they did, but I think at the same time, when they put up their erosion controls, they took all the stumps out.
Oh, okay, all right. I
So I believe
stand
that's
corrected.
good.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Serge Novenko.
Yes, Serge.
So I did receive your enforcement order, but that was after the stumps were removed. So backstory to this, I purchased the land around end of last year, and I'm a first time home slash I'm trying to build a home in Westfield to settle down. And I went into City Hall to the building department to ask them if I could build on that lot, which one was 68 when I was buying it. The seller said that's the only lot that you could build on. They sent me to the second floor to ask, I think it was you guys, conservation, if I'm able to build. And I was directed to GIS to see if there's wetlands. And when I checked it, there was no wetlands. Basically, then I called Levesque because he was doing the whole area with delineation and stuff. And I was told as well there was no wetlands. So I proceeded to hire Green Site to do the tree removal. And I have a contract with them to remove parcel 68, basically from that pin all the way to the right, 100 feet to the left and 200 feet in. And she accidentally, the company did 200 by 200. So it's on their mistake that they cut the 69 as well. I did not intend to cut that parcel. And when the enforcement order came in, the property was already fully cleared and stumped. And the black stuff, I did question her what it was. She did not answer. So that's my story.
I can
Okay,
try
so-
calling Green Site tomorrow. Because like I said, unfortunately, I just didn't have a way to contact them today and I couldn't find one.
Yeah, and I do have a contract with her that I asked her to do 100 feet, not 200, which on my end, I did not know that you couldn't cut like that. That was not my intention. I wanted to, follow the law and follow all the steps, the proper steps to building a home. I went online on Westfield website, the City Hall, and I couldn't find anything how to build. So I thought I was doing everything correct till I seen the letter, and that kind of got me worried. That's why I'm trying to do everything I can to restore it. I mean, fix it and put it back to where it was. And I did talk to her about her cutting extra, the parcel 69. She said she will be restoring it, replanting it, and it's all up to you guys to decide what to do, how to do the restoration. That's what I've been waiting for.
Maybe you can save us a stamp. So you do understand, do nothing else until we figure this out?
Yeah, I did not even pick a leaf up or move a rock without you guys telling me. Like last time you told me to install the silt fence, I installed it, and then I was trying to contact, I think Ryan or I forgot who it was, how to install it properly before I started doing it. That way I don't do more damage. And then I was told to put the trench and the hay bales on one side, and I did everything as I was told.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
And yeah, and I'm just here every meeting trying to figure out how to fix this myself, because this was originally for me and my family to settle down, me, my wife, and my young daughter.
So you purchased both 68 and 69, correct?
So I purchased 68, 69, and 70.
And 70.
And yeah, and the owner of the property said the 68 he already talked to, I don't know who it was, or he said that that's buildable. So I had like 3 proofs that I could cut the trees, and I guess I did, and I did my not the good research. I was trying to do research, but I had no knowledge of that. I couldn't cut And I did not want to cut the parcel 69, and that's a green site's mistake. So I'm going to be pushing for them to restore it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. So I think we'll have a better answer for your, or restoration tomorrow after the site visit
Mm-hmm.
with the representative of the Department of Environmental Protection. Because there is a lot of this oily stuff on 69 and 68 now. That's contaminated the soil.
Yeah, I'll be at the meeting tomorrow.
You know, parcel 70 seems to have a lot of wetland on it when we looked at it. So, okay, any other questions from the commission? I guess we, you know, it's a work in progress to see what happens tomorrow and then go from there.
Yeah, I agree.
Ryan, did I understand, did I hear that you delineated this before the tree guy got there?
No, we did not. No.
Okay.
Are there any particular questions you want to, you know, be answered tomorrow from the commission? I know. How is that that organic fluid going to be determined? It's obviously some kind of oily stuff that most likely, you know, came out of one of those heavy equipments, I would think. You know, they had a leak in it. But it's very pervasive over the front of 69 or 68, and it also has traveled into 69 into the wetland area. And Karen, you think it went over to 70 as well, right?
A little bit, yeah, just beyond the erosion control line.
Yeah, so it's across, you know, all three you know, at least two of those areas. So, but hopefully after tomorrow we'll have a better idea of what, you know, what has to happen to, you know, to get it back to where it should be.
I'll give you a motion to continue if you're ready for it.
Okay. First, any other comments or questions from the commission?
No, Mr. Chairman.
I have just one quick comment to carry off of what Sergey said about how he went to GIS through the Westfield website. Bayberry is not marked on GIS as wetlands, unfortunately. I believe it is on Mass Mapper now, but the Westfield GIS service has not been updated yet.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, go ahead, Tom, with your motion.
Motion to continue until our next meeting.
All right, May 24th. Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jim?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Bob, okay, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, Alex?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Okay, going further up the street, Bayberry Lane. Again, cutting trees, disturbing soils near wetlands. Again, continue from 426. We did visit this site after the last meeting, and we do see erosion controls up there. Ryan, are you doing this one too?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So the owner for this site is Mr. Samuel Shokov. This property consists of two parcels located on the corner of where Bayberry turns, right here. So it's these two parcels located here. He had done some perk tests and some initial site clearing. You can see the existing edge of woods or the cleared area is this squiggly tree line. We located the perks, which were done outside the 50-foot wetland buffer, thankfully. Located the wetland boundary located here. So it looks like there was a small portion of clearing that was done within the 50-foot buffer related to the perk test. And then there was this area here that was cleared and started to be stumped within the 100-foot buffer zone. So I believe it's the applicant's intent to construct a single-family home on the site, somewhere over here in the 100-foot buffer or the upland area. And obviously would be going forward with a notice of intent to allow for work related to the septic system in the buffer zone. And then we'd be restoring any disturbance within the inner 50-foot buffer zone. So I actually met with Mr. Shokov today to discussing proposed concept layouts for the site, and we'll be coming forward with an NOI shortly.
Okay, thank you. When I was out there in the site visit this past week, we were looking at your delineations, and the one in the center that looks like the two sides come to a point. You're going towards the right.
The seep. Where it
This-
starts
up
seeping. Yeah.
here?
Yep, that's fine.
Yep.
It looks like that wetland continues farther to the right.
Yeah, I did notice that suspicious area. If you saw up gradient of where it stops, there was a pink and blue double colored flag.
Mhm.
And that was a non-hydric soil boring. So I can provide that information. The soils weren't hydric and it just had only signs of hydrology in that one particular spot.
Okay. So does the applicant have a location where they want to put the house?
We're still working on it, but it'd be somewhere over here.
Okay. All right. Okay, comments from the commission?
Well, it's good to see that Ryan's placing it outside of the 50 foot. Thank you, Ryan.
Sure.
So what do we do with this one? We've got an open enforcement order. Do we leave it open or do we let them submit an NOI?
And handle them separately. So I would recommend under the enforcement order, acknowledging that 50-foot line in the field and restoring up to the 50 foot, and then handling any future development in a separate filing.
As well as part of the enforcement order was to submit a restoration plan by the 24th. So we're still waiting on those as well.
Okay. All right, so it seems like we need to continue to the 24th and get this, get the plan then and go on from there. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, we're restoring just the inner 50-foot buffer that was disturbed, correct?
So that little area over on the left?
Yep.
Okay. Is that agreement with the commission?
Okay, by me.
Yeah, I was thinking that was what was in our letter.
Makes sense.
And we can, I mean, we do have jurisdiction out to the 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the letter specified.
Oh, okay. Well, how do people feel about extending it to the 100 foot?
I don't, how much, Ryan described it as minor disturbance. Is it a minor disturbance?
Within the 50 is more related to the perk test, but in this area over here, stumping and grubbing did occur. I understand that, you know, under enforcement, he has to restore it. But just from a practical standpoint, we'd be coming back in a week or two requesting to stump and grade that anyway, so just seems counterproductive, but
Yeah, that's sort of where I was coming from earlier.
I mean, there's going to have to be access to the house. I mean, even though we walk the property, maybe we should just have them focus on the 50 foot now. And then, yeah, they're going to come back with a plan. If everybody's okay with that.
Well, if we,
Again, I'm okay with that.
yeah. Well, as long as the enforcement stays open, we can have them do more,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so
Yep.
want the plan for the 50 and then go from there?
That sounds reasonable to me, yes.
Okay.
Do you want any markings of the 50 foot in the field?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Like signage or boulders or whatever. Mhm.
I think signage might be sufficient for now. They're going to be coming in with equipment and maybe moving signage works. It says what's going on. No work beyond this point.
Yeah.
How many signs do we need, David? You were there, I wasn't. 3 signs?
Well, we typically say
signs?
every 50 feet.
Yep. And change in direction.
Yeah, and change of direction. So, I mean, there's certainly a point where you stick one at that corner right there. And then just go, just follow the line and put one every 50 feet, I would think.
Probably about 5 signs, maybe 5 signs. I don't know. I mean, it follows a pretty distinct path. 6 signs.
Sure. Yeah, let's go with 6 signs.
Yeah.
Sounds like we need to send a second letter talking about 50 feet, re-emphasizing don't do nothing, and reminding him that he owes us a restoration plan. And the signs.
Right. That horizontal line is the edge of the property, so the signs would stop there.
Right.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we send the enforcement order property owner a second letter indicating that that we want a restoration to begin within the 50-foot buffer, that we want 6 signs installed along the 50-foot buffer line. What else was there? It's getting late.
I guess make sure that no additional activity occurs
Thank you.
until it's approved.
Yeah, that sounds like my motion.
All right.
I'll second that then.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor. Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yeah.
Tom?
Oh, yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Item D, South Meadow Road. Looks like the soil piles have been removed. So the office is recommending we lift the enforcement order. Is that correct?
Yes, I drove by the site the other day and the soil piles have been dispersed and reseeded from the construction on the house. So
So do you
the
think
enforcement-
he spread them, or did he remove them from the property?
it looked like he spread them out. I unfortunately typed this out before I looked closer. So yeah, there was construction on the top side of the house, like on the entryway. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the soils were there to provide for when the spring came around to replant the grass.
What did the enforcement order require though? Removal or?
Removal of the soil from the flood zones.
So he didn't remove it. He spread it out. So he did not comply with the enforcement order.
Well, who knows? Maybe he removed most of it. Who knows?
There was nothing in the file other than that enforcement order. And then during the minutes for the meeting on the 14th, it was, or on the, I don't remember.
14th, yep.
Yeah, 14th. Oh no, that's when the enforcement letter was issued.
Right.
They received it, but they never attended a meeting or anything of the sorts because it wasn't required in the enforcement letter to attend a meeting. So it was just.
Yeah, I'm satisfied to let this just go away, close it.
I'm a little bothered though if we, in the enforcement order, we asked or mandated that the soil piles be removed, and if they weren't, that's sort of a violation of the violation.
I know. Yeah.
But Carl, how would we document that? How would we prove that, it would be so easy for him to say, I did remove them. And then I just sprinkled a little bit and threw some seed on the ground.
Yeah, no, I see your practical issue with that.
That's true. It also could be that they were removed and just what I saw on the ground was the regular dirt that's there after post-construction.
I'll make a motion that we end this enforcement order. When you're ready for it, Mr. Chairman.
You have a second?
Yeah, I won't fight that. I'll make a second.
Was this a new construction of a house?
I'm not entirely sure what it was. It was an enforcement that you had issued in January of this year.
This is that new house that was built right next to where they're, we took that walk back to the river. It's just like all that cornfields and it's sort of the end of the road. It's the very last house.
It's all the way at the end of South Meadow Street, and then there's all the cornfields, and then there's
Often in construction, they'll bulldoze the topsoil to piles and then do the construction and then put the topsoil back and seed it.
That's what I'm suspecting that it is, and we just didn't get that information.
Okay. So, how much soil did that add from previously? Maybe an inch or so? I guess I would agree with Tom. Let's just get rid of it.
No way to tell.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So all in favor? Bob?
Yes.
Tom?
How about yes?
Jim?
Yeah.
Lauren?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Alex? I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, Union Street. Seems like we're not getting much response from this place.
Nope.
Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates again, representing the applicant.
Okay.
So this enforcement order was issued over the winter time. I know some time has passed and we have gotten the existing conditions done and we're working on evaluating the applicant's options, I guess. So the gist is that they had dumped gravel off the side of an existing parking lot that is within the buffer zone to wetland, but also within bordering land subject to flooding. So we're trying to determine if comp storage is available on property to address that and propose and submit as an NOI, or to just restore to pre-existing conditions if that's not feasible. So that's something we're actively working on.
Thank you for the update, Ryan.
I'll make a motion that we continue until our next meeting.
I'll second that.
Ryan, what's your timetable as far as bringing a plan to the commission?
We could have a plan showing the extent of what was done by the next meeting. But as far as a restoration plan or an NOI plan, we're probably 2 meetings away.
Okay. All right. Is that agreeable to the commission?
Yes, to me.
Yep.
So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, Jim?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes as well. Okay, item 7, approval of minutes of April 26. We have a motion to approve the minutes of April 26.
Did we get those?
Yeah.
Minutes?
I don't
Did I
remember
not hit
seeing.
send?
I don't think we got those.
My email has been a dumpster fire lately.
Okay.
With not sending stuff and not being able to receive stuff. So I may not have sent it.
All right, moving on. 8, commission discussion. B, extension of order conditions for 24 or 240 Union Street. Is this a request from the applicant?
Chair, recuse myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a straightforward request for extension. That's all.
Yes, for 3 years.
All right, do you have a motion?
They were here earlier, but unfortunately it just got late.
Okay.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, I think
Oh, you're
Melissa's
still
still
here?
here.
Hey, Melissa. Sorry.
Been
Like
hanging
Tom said,
on.
it's getting late.
It is getting late, and I don't mind if you want to move along quickly, but you're exactly right, Melissa Cody for the city of from Ty and Bond on behalf of the city of Westfield. The city has actually already had their pre-construction meeting with Karen in March, where the erosion controls were installed, and they're ready to continue working on the water treatment plant. They just it took a little longer than anticipated when they first filed for the permit, and so they're looking to get ahead of the extension deadline in July.
Great. A motion to extend the order conditions.
How long are they asking to extend this?
Ideally, we'd like 3 years, just as the belt and suspenders approach. We have also actually already started the 5-year site improvement plan for invasive species control. That was part of this project, the mitigation for the work down at well number 2. And so actually we have a monitoring event scheduled in the next couple of weeks for this spring. So that will need to go through, that program needs to extend through at least July 2024.
Okay.
Melissa, I've been looking for you all night. David, I'll give you a motion if we extend this for a 3-year period.
Second.
Just one point, we need a file number to be specific. We have a location, but just, Melissa, do you have a file number?
Yeah.
333-779.
Okay, very good.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, item C, potential violation, Loomis Street.
I issued them a violation letter earlier today. They fall within the NOI zone, possibly within 200 foot of the riverbank. They basically clear cut the property all the way back to Munsbrook.
All right, so we need to get them here at the next meeting.
Anna, how do you know they went back as far as you just said? We looked at it from the road. Did you go back?
Just looking at like the GIS and the distance at which we saw that it was clear cut, I can assume that they're most likely within the 200 foot riverbank area. If anything, they at least fall within the permitting issuance, which
Good
means
answer.
that
So you sent them a letter saying stop and.
yes, it was a cease and desist and gave the reason of not filing for a permit and potentially within the 200 foot river zone.
And the way it should work is they'll give you a telephone call and
Correct.
they'll set up some sort of site visit.
Correct.
Thank you.
Prior to that, do you want an official enforcement? You don't want us to leave it with the letter for now?
I'd say just leave it with the letter for now.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Until
sort
we
of my
get on
thought,
the
yeah.
get on the site, take a look at it, and then they attend the meeting.
All right, thank you. Same thing for D, 395 North Road.
So 395 North Road, that came into me today, and that's not an address on North Road. It concerned mowing their yard in the wetland. I took a drive over to North Road. Basically, everybody mows their lawn, and basically all of North Road is a wetland. So it was an anonymous letter. I didn't know whether or not to continue searching for it or to just let it go.
That's not a real address?
There's no 395 North Road from what I could find.
I do have it on Google Maps, but it ends up being in the middle of the pond.
Yeah.
So there you go. So much for that.
There's a 400, there's a 405, there's a 397, but there is no 395. So there's no way to figure out which property it is. And I was like, oh, maybe if I drive down there, I can see what's been mowed. And like I said, it's all water. So everything's been mowed.
Any suggestions?
Well, without real address, there's not much we can do.
I try to find a physical address.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's the rear of 395, if it even exists.
Mm.
Well, no, Bob, it is in the middle of one of the Brickyard ponds. And there's on Google here, there's a house across the street. That's it. And even then there's no lawn that shows.
Okay. We'll just leave it at that for now. And
Yeah, got nothing.
all right, item E, contract signature authority for Anna.
I
we
need
have
the
to
commission's signatures in order to sign off of important documents as the department head. I don't know if I need all of the commission signatures, if I just need yours, David, but I need something so that I have some authority within the department to make the decisions.
When we did this for Meredith, David, I believe we all signed, but I think there are 2 documents. Karen, what did we do for you?
I thought it was just one document. I thought it was just one signature, but they could have changed
Yeah,
things.
there's one document. I filled everything out except for obviously the signature.
Does it say chairman's
I just-
signature or just signatures of the commission?
It just says department head signature, but I'm technically the department head. So I asked Tammy about it and Tammy said to get the commission signature because I work for y'all.
Okay, so everybody sign it.
All right, so what do we do? Go to the office and sign it?
Sure.
I guess so.
All right.
Or we could take a vote to authorize the chair to sign it, couldn't we? Rather than, doesn't that make sense? He's our fearless leader.
Well, it depends if everybody needs to sign it, though. Some documents the entire commission has to sign.
Anna, does everyone, the form you have?
I'm unaware. There's multiple lines for department signature. So
Okay.
All right.
I think we should err on a side of caution, and Dave signs at the top. At the top is the chair, and we all just sign. Done.
Okay. I'm all right. I'm good
I
with
think
that.
Tom just doesn't want to visit me in my office.
Tom's like that. He's like that.
All right, finally, returning to in-person meetings or remaining on Zoom, well,
It was just something I noticed. Most of the committees are going back to in-person meetings. I brought it up to Jim and Carl, and we discussed it for a moment. And I said, "Well, I'll throw it on the agenda and see how people feel."
well, the incidences are going up again, so.
Yes, they are,
We can do this until July, I guess.
and they
legally.
will probably extend it beyond July as well.
Okay, so let's just keep it the way it is for now.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
I'm okay with that. We'll revisit it again, but I would personally like to be in person when we have a comfort level.
Right, thank you. All right, this has been one of our marathon meetings. Okay, number 9, motion to adjourn.
I had just a really quick question for Anna. Will you be around tomorrow in the office
Yes.
for signatures?
Yes.
Okay.
I will
Any
be in the
particular
office
times?
tomorrow from 8:30 to probably 2, considering this meeting has gone so late. I do have to go over to the Pelletiers at 57 Jesse Lane to approve their erosion control. I don't know when that is, though. They will let me know, and I will send out an email saying when I will be out of office.
About Thursday afternoon.
All right, so who made the motion to adjourn? All right, Alex, did you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Jim?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Well, thank you, everybody.
Good night.
All right.